Chapter 2875. Realm Lord Tian Chu. Humph, can you imagine my methods? Realm Lord Tian Chu's voice was as cold as ice. Jian, although you don't know me, you killed my Hong. Today, I will skin you alive and tear your bones apart, so that I can vent my hatred. Kill me? Then I'll give it a try. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly, but there was no fear in his heart. On the contrary, there was a faint excitement on his face. Yes, he was indeed excited, since he had broken through to the great divine master level, and the power of the Blood Mountain sword had soared. His strength had greatly improved. He did not think much of ordinary invincible divine masters. Even if they were extremely powerful invincible divine masters, he did not have much desire to fight. Like the Black Blood Emperor from before, he was also an unrivaled divine master at the second stage. However, he had only casually attacked. He had not used his full strength yet, and still easily killed the Black Blood Emperor. Right now, his overall combat strength was already at the peak of unrivaled divine master. Even those legendary unrivaled divine master at the third stage, who were extremely rare, probably could not compare to him. His strength had reached this level. He could also try to challenge the Immortal Saint. Although he was certainly not as strong as the Immortal Saint, he really wanted to fight with the Immortal Saint. At least he had a clear understanding of the Immortal Saint's strength. Now the World Master Tian Chu had come to him. Buzz buzz buzz. Boundless divine power crazily swept up from Jian Wushuang's body. The divine power gathered rapidly behind him, and in the blink of an eye, a golden emperor phantom rose to the sky. The star power in his body had also been activated. At the same time, a layer of dark golden armor emerged on his body. 7-star secret skill, divine punishment, and 9 luminary star armor were all activated. When Jian Wushuang killed the Black Blood Emperor, he had only activated 7-star secret skills. Now that he had used all 3 secret skills, his battle strength had reached a whole new level. Especially the 9 luminary star armor, which had reached the treasured armor chapter. It was enough to increase his attack power 6 times. World Master Tian Chu, let me see how strong you are as an immortal saint. Jian Wushuang was full of fighting spirit, and his voice was unusually cold. You're courting death. World Master Tian Chu also shouted in a low voice. A majestic divine power gathered in his hand, and he slapped it. Boom! The world suddenly shook. In a flash, a towering giant palm fell from the sky. This giant palm was destructive, and wanted to smash Jian Wushuang into dust. Looking at this giant palm, and feeling the extremely terrifying destructive power of the rules contained in it, Jian Wushuang's eyes flickered with a strange look. The next moment he drew his sword. He drew his sword casually, as if he was an ordinary person wielding a wooden sword. However, when he drew his long sword, a sword light immediately lit up. This sword light was extremely weak, extremely dim, and incomplete. It was an incomplete light, a remnant light. The 8th move of space-time swordsmanship, 1,000 directions remnant light. This was the ultimate technique created by the sword light. Under his full power, this sword light was so powerful that it seemed as if it could tear everything apart. When the huge palm that descended from the sky came into direct contact with this sword light, the tearing and killing power contained within the sword light, especially the Blood Mountain sword, was too sharp. Even a top-tier heavenly treasure-level protective armor could be sliced apart like a piece of paper. Let alone this huge palm in front of him? Hualalop, a huge crack appeared in the center of the huge palm. This crack continued to expand and eventually, the entire palm was sliced apart by the sword light. It seems that I have underestimated you. No wonder Honger died in your hands, even though she had taken out her life-saving talisman. Realm Lord Tian Chu stared at Jian Wushuang with a cold gaze. Thank you for your praise. Although I am only a divine master, it will not be easy for you to kill me, Realm Lord Tian Chu. Jian Wushuang sneered. Is that so? Realm Master Tian Chu's voice sank, and his surging divine power, and the power of the destruction rules surged again. Chapter 2876. The power of the realm. Although Jian Wushuang said it beautifully, he did not dare to underestimate him. After all, World Master Tian Chu did not use his full strength just now, but now, The divine power and the power of the destruction rules that spread out from his body made him feel a little scared. Is he going to use his secret skill? Jian Wushuang thought. Boom! A loud boom suddenly burst out between heaven and the earth. With lightning-like eyes, Realm Lord Tianchu's right hand turned pitch black. In a flash he struck out with his palm again. He also struck out with his palm, which also fell from the sky. However, the power and movement of this palm were not as great as the previous one. Moreover, the area covered by this palm was not as vast as before, and its size was much smaller. However, Jian Wushuang's eyes focused when he saw this palm strike. He could see that this palm had completely fused divine power and the power of destruction rules. The palm was filled with the power of thunder alone, and the power contained in it was definitely several times stronger than the previous palm strike. Realm Lord Tianchu had already used his ultimate skill in this palm strike. Moreover, it was an ultimate skill at the saint level. Come on! Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with fervor. Although he could feel that the power of this palm was extremely powerful, and was not something he could withstand, he was still fearless. Divine power surged out of his body crazily. The 30,000-meter-tall Golden Emperor Phantom was also staring at him. It held a golden longsword tightly in its hand. As Jian Wushuang waved the sword, the Golden Emperor Phantom slashed out the golden sword in its hand. It was still the 8th move of the space-time swordsmanship, 1,000 square-shaped light. Jian Wushuang also unleashed his strongest strength. The seemingly weak and dim sword light once again struck the palm of the giant palm. Whoosh! With the sharpness of the Blood Mountain sword, a crack still appeared in the palm of the giant palm. However, this time, the crack did not expand rapidly. Only a part of it was cracked open, and the Blood Mountain sword seemed to be stuck in the middle of the crack. Then, the giant palm continued to crush him with its destructive power. In an instant, it completely covered his entire body. Boom! The giant palm fell from the sky, crushed Jian Wushuang, and then smacked toward the ground below. Under this palm, a huge and boundless handprint immediately appeared on the ground below. This handprint was not only huge but also bottomless. Jian Wushuang had been completely slammed into the bottom of the handprint, and there was no movement for a moment. Is he dead? Realm Lord Tianchu's aura was still extremely violent. His eyes were cold as he looked down at the deep and invisible handprint. But at this moment, bang, 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 a large amount of gravel flew out from the bottom of the handprint, and then a figure slowly rose up. It was Jian Wushuang who rose up again. At this moment, his figure was clearly in a sorry state, and the purple bell shield formed by the purple emperor bell had completely collapsed. However, although he was in a sorry state, Jian Wushuang's aura remained at its peak and did not weaken at all. There was still a faint smile on his face. No wonder you are World Master Tianchu, and an immortal saint. Your skills are indeed incomparable to us divine masters, Jian Wushuang said. He was speaking the truth. Immortal saints are much stronger than divine masters. Although he was already heaven-defying enough to defeat World Master Tianchu's attack, it was only a casual attack by the World Master Tianchu. Once Realm Lord Tianchu used his absolute art or other techniques, he would be able to completely crush Jian Wushuang. Perhaps, when my realm rises again, and I reach the advanced divine master level, or my comprehension of the rules and sword principle rises to the immortal saint level, I will be able to fight with Realm Lord Tianchu head-on, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. He still had room for maneuver in this fight with Realm Lord Tianchu. He still had 2 other trump cards that he had yet to use. These 2 trump cards were the Supreme Sword Essence in the Mountain River map and Blood Mountain Sword, and he had yet to use his domain. However, even if he used all his trump cards, he might not be able to fight against Realm Lord Tianchu. However, if his strength, his comprehension of the rules, and sword principle improved again, it would be a different story. Realm Lord Tianchu, I've learned a lot from today's battle. Farewell. Jian Wushuang laughed, and then rushed to the back. You want to escape? Realm Lord Tianchu burst out with a fierce aura. He instantly turned into a stream of light, and chased after Jian Wushuang. As an immortal saint, Realm Lord Tianchu was also very fast. At least, he was much faster than Jian Wushuang. You really want to kill me? Is that possible? Jian Wushuang chuckled, and then moved his mind. A scarlet compass flew out of his divine body. As Jian Wushuang's divine power surged, the scarlet compass immediately burst out with bursts of blood light. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The blood light surged and turned into a huge blood-red river. The blood-red river was vast and mighty as it surged toward Realm Lord Tianchu. This is a domain? The Realm Lord narrowed his eyes and sneered. A mere domain wants to stop me? How ridiculous. The Realm Lord did not care. After all, he was an immortal saint, and he was very strong among the immortal saints. Ordinary domain-type techniques did not affect him at all. Even a domain-type treasure at the level of a top-tier heavenly treasure could not affect him at all. Therefore, he was not worried that Jian Wushuang's domain could affect him. However, when the blood-red river came pressing down on him, the expression of Realm Master Tianchu immediately changed. This domain is so strong. My strength has been suppressed by more than 10% in an instant, and my speed has been greatly reduced. How is this possible? Realm Lord Tianchu was shocked. Impossible. Even a domain-type treasure at the level of a top-tier heavenly treasure can't affect me. The Blood River realm is so powerful. Could it be a domain-type holy treasure? Yes, it must be a holy treasure. Jianyi has a domain-type holy treasure on him. Realm Lord Tianchu's eyes became even colder. Under the pressure of the 9-universe blood-light river, his speed was greatly reduced. However, he was still able to keep up with Jian Wushuang's speed, and was unable to be pulled away by him. He still did not give up on chasing after Jian Wushuang. He's really persistent. In that case, Jian Wushuang's lips curled slightly, and golden divine power swept across the sky in an instant. A layer of dark golden light covered his dark golden armor. Chapter 2877. Joining Hands Star Armor Realm, Punishment Prison, Sword World, and 9-universe Bloodlight River. Jian Wushuang had already exerted his realm techniques to the extreme. Under the pressure of 9-universe Bloodlight River, the strength and speed of World Lord Tianchu had been greatly suppressed. Now, the pressure on him had increased sharply, and his strength had been suppressed by more than 20%. After all, he was an immortal saint. His speed had been greatly reduced again, and he could no longer keep up with Jian Wushuang's speed. Haha, Realm Lord Tianchu, we'll meet again. Jian Wushuang's clear voice echoed in the world, but his figure kept pulling away from Realm Lord Tianchu. Realm Lord Tianchu had no choice but to stop and watch Jian Wushuang leave. Soon, Jian Wushuang completely disappeared from Realm Lord Tianchu's sight. How could he escape? Realm Lord Tianchu clenched his hands, his eyes surging with anger. Although he was angry, Realm Lord Tianchu still retained his rationality. He had to admit that Jian Wushuang's life-saving ability was very strong. He could not kill Jian Wushuang, just because of his terrifying domain skill. No wonder this kid didn't run away when he saw me coming. It turns out that he is very confident in his own strength, or his life-saving skills. He just wanted to fight me face to face. After the fight, as soon as he achieved his goal, he left. Realm Lord Tianchu's face was extremely ugly, and right at this moment, haha, Realm Lord Tianchu, you've lost a lot of faces today. An immortal saint was actually tricked by a deity, and could only watch as the other party left. This isn't like you. Deep laughter suddenly rang out from the surrounding void. Realm Lord Tianchu's expression sank, his ice-cold eyes immediately turned towards the surrounding void. However, he discovered two figures rushing over. One was old and the other was young. They were the black-robed old man from the Star Point Pavilion, and the young master of the Star Point Pavilion, Qi Ming. As for the one who laughed out loud, it was none other than the black-robed old man. Old Monster Su from the Star Point Pavilion? Tianchu glanced at the two of them as his voice sank. When did you arrive? I arrived very early. It's just that my Star Point Pavilion has a unique aura concealment technique, and you didn't discover it. The black-robed old man laughed. Qi Ming greets Realm Lord Tianchu. Qi Ming bowed slightly. Although he was the young pavilion master of the Star Pavilion, when faced with a realm lord who was extremely powerful amongst the immortal saints, he naturally had to show some respect. Little fellow from the Star Pavilion? Realm Lord Tianchu's expression was cold. What are you all doing here? To tell you the truth, we have been keeping an eye on Jian Wushuang for a long time. Even earlier than you, Realm Lord Tianqiu. I asked someone to tell you the news about Jian Wushuang in the Fire Cloud Castle. Elder Su said with a smile. Did you give us the news? Realm Lord Tianqiu frowned. He had come to the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City in a rage when he found out that Jian Wushuang had killed Chu Hong. However, he did not know Jian Wushuang's exact location at first. Later, someone told him that Jian Yi was staying in Fire Cloud Castle, so he left. He had been waiting near the Fire Cloud Castle for Jian Yi to appear. And he did get Jian Yi. Unfortunately, he let him escape. Now, he knew that it was someone from the Star Point Pavilion who told him the news. I have my eyes on Jian Yi, but he sent me a message asking me to take action. Is he trying to kill someone else? Realm Master Tianqiu said coldly. Realm Master Tianqiu, don't misunderstand. We don't intend to kill someone else. It's just that this is the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's territory, so it's not convenient for our Point Star Pavilion to take action here. Moreover, although Jian Yi is only a divine master, his strength and skills are extraordinary. It won't be easy to kill him. I'm sure you've already experienced this just now, Elder Su said. Realm Lord Tianqiu narrowed his eyes. He had to admit that Jian Wushuang was indeed a difficult divine master to deal with. A divine master actually defeated my attack head-on. After that, I tried my best to use my saint-level secret skill to kill him. That palm indeed crushed him completely. But after that, he was only in a sorry state and did not suffer any injuries. Such a method. There was no doubt that Jian Wushuang was not as strong as him. However, after the battle, even if he did not choose to flee, Realm Master Tianqiu still did not have the confidence to kill Jian Wushuang. Old Monster Su, what does the Star Point Pavilion mean? Realm Master Tianqiu looked at him. It's very simple. It would be very difficult for me, or Realm Master Tianqiu to kill Jian Yi. In that case, why don't we join hands? Elder Su said. Join forces. The expression of Realm Lord Tianqiu could not help but shift. Realm Lord Tianqiu, you want to kill Jian Yi because you want to avenge your son Chu Hong. And the reason why our Star Point Pavilion wants to kill him is because of an item in his hands. Our motives aren't contradictory, we can totally join forces. Old Su said. You're right, I only want him dead. As for the treasure on his body, I'm not too interested. Since that's the case, we can indeed join forces. However, Jian Yi's techniques aren't ordinary. Especially his domain techniques, they can restrict me greatly. Just now he relied on his domain techniques to easily escape from me. Although you and I are both undying saints, if we can't restrict his domain techniques, I'm afraid it would be very difficult to kill him. Realm Lord Tianqiu said. That's true, but it's not a big problem. Elder Su smiled. Don't forget that our Star Point Pavilion is the #1 chamber of commerce in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. We don't have many other things, but we have the most treasures among all the forces in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. For example, we have quite a few domain-type treasures in our Star Point Pavilion. Although I don't have any with me, I can find someone to send a domain-type sacred treasure over. At that time, with me personally controlling a domain-type sacred treasure, I can easily suppress Jian Yi's domain. After all, he is only a divine master. Even if he has a domain-type sacred treasure of the same level, with his strength, he won't be able to unleash too much power. As long as his domain is restricted, he will be like a turtle in a jar. When that time comes, killing him will be much easier. Sure. Tianqiu's eyes gleamed. Right, just in case I've asked for another helper. Elder Su suddenly spoke. Who? Tianqiu looked over. Don't worry, you'll know soon enough. Elder Su smiled. Chapter 2878. Pressure Realm Lord Tianqiu, Elder Su, and Qi Ming were waiting in the void. Not long after, a figure rushed over from the void. It was a cold dark red man. He was tall and slim, and his aura was only at the Divine Master level. If Jian Wushuang were here, he would have recognized him immediately. This cold man was the invincible Divine Master from the Heaven Void world, Marquis of 3 Yin. Marquis of 3 Yin greets Master Su and Realm Lord Tianqiu. Marquis of 3 Yin bowed respectfully to the 2 immortal saints. Marquis of 3 Yin, I've heard of you. Are you a subordinate of Tianqiu? Realm Lord Tianqiu looked at him. Yes, my Lord Palace Master has often mentioned you before. Marquis of 3 appeared abnormally humble. Why? Is the Heavenly Void Palace Master interested in Jianyi 1 as well? Realm Lord Tianqiu asked in a low voice. Of course, the Heavenly Void Palace Master also wants to kill Jianyi. Elder Su laughed. Marquis of 3 explained. Jianyi came from the Pil Sun Sacred World. The Realm Lord of the Pil Sun Sacred World, the Crimson Rock Saint, died a long time ago. The Pil Sun Sacred World has also been in an internal conflict, and its strength has been constantly weakened. It has long been reduced to the weakest realm among the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. And the Pil Sun Sacred World is connected to the Heavenly Void World. My Palace Master naturally wanted to completely occupy the Pil Sun Sacred World. However, because of the agreement between Lord Bone Emperor and the 4 pavilions and the other realms, he could not personally take action. He could only send his Divine Master army. In the end, he was defeated because of Jianyi. It can be said that if Jianyi doesn't die, my Palace Master can forget about completely occupying the Pil Sun Sacred World. Is that so? Realm Master Tianqiu immediately understood. Heavenly Void Palace Master is also very strong. With his help, together with the 2 of us, there is no chance for Jianyi to survive, Elder Su said with a smile. In addition, the 3 of us have different motives, so we can take what we want. This time, I personally attacked the Star Point Pavilion and used a domain-type holy treasure. After killing Jianyi, the Star Point Pavilion does not want much. We only want one thing, and that is the divine sword in his hand. The Star Point Pavilion is determined to get it. That magic sword, Realm Master Tianqiu's expression changed. He had just fought with Jian Wushuang, so he naturally felt the power of the Blood Mountain sword in Jian Wushuang's hand. That sword is indeed extraordinary. I heard that Mo Tao of the Fire Cloud Castle used the Holy Heavenly Furnace to refine an extraordinary sword principle magic weapon. During the refining process, Jianyi happened to visit Mo Tao. This magic sword is most likely the one that Mo Tao refined. Realm Master Tianqiu narrowed his eyes slightly. However, although this divine sword is powerful, it isn't of much use to me. Since the Star Pavilion is determined to obtain this sword, I'll just take it. Elder Su frowned. He then turned his gaze toward the Marquis of 3 The Heavenly Void Palace is extremely powerful, but they aren't proficient in speed. In a battle, if they encounter someone with slightly stronger life-saving techniques, they won't be able to do anything. And that sword has a powerful domain-type sacred treasure in his hands. That sacred treasure is just right for the Heavenly Void Palace Lord to use. When the time comes, they'll give it to him. As for the rest, Jianyi's interspatial ring and all the treasures on him will belong to you, Realm Lord Tianqiu. Upon hearing these words, the expression of Realm Lord Tianqiu changed as he spoke in a low voice. It was clearly 3 parties working together. But now, one of you wants the divine sword while the other wants the domain-type sacred treasure. Wouldn't this seat be at a disadvantage? Disadvantage? Not necessarily. Elder Su shook his head. Tianqiu Realm Lord, after you exchanged blows with that sword, you should be able to tell that although he is only a divine master, his methods are extremely powerful. Not to mention that he was able to invite Mo Tao to use the Holy Heavenly Furnace to forge a divine weapon for him. His net worth must be extraordinary. There's an 80% chance that he has other treasures in his hands. And he might even be hiding some secrets. All of these should be left for you. In the end, what you obtain might be even more than my Star Point Pavilion. After pondering for a moment, Realm Lord Tianqiu nodded. Sure, I agree. Marquis of 3 What about the Heavenly Void Palace Lord? Elder Su looked at the Marquis of 3 I've already reported this suggestion to the Palace Lord, and he has agreed. He is already on his way to the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City. The Marquis of 3 said. That's good. Elder Su smiled. According to the news we received from the Star Point Pavilion, Jianyi has just left the Pil Sun Sacred World, and will not return for a short period of time. He will continue to stay in the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City. As long as he stays here, we can easily find him. Once the Heavenly Void Palace Lord arrives, We will act immediately. Okay. Realm Lord Tianchu nodded heavily. The three powerful immortal saints had reached an agreement. Jian Wushuang was flying rapidly in the void far away from the fire cloud castle. At this moment he was lamenting in his heart. Immortal saint. As expected of an immortal saint. It's not easy to cross over. At least I'm still not strong enough to fight against a real immortal saint. Jian Wushuang thought to himself. The fight with Realm Lord Tianchu was very short. He had only fought with Realm Lord Tianchu twice. The first time, Realm Lord Tianchu had casually used his palm, but he had defeated him with his full strength. However, the second time, Realm Lord Tianchu had used his saint's secret skill, so he could not withstand it, and was completely crushed. An immortal saint using a saint's secret skill, and not using it are two completely different concepts. Once Realm Lord Tianchu uses his saint's secret skill, even if I use my trump card, and activate the Supreme Sword Essence in the Blood Mountain Sword, I won't be able to fight against him. To put it bluntly, my realm is too low, and my comprehension of the rules and sword principle is too low. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes slightly. He knew that although he had escaped this time, Realm Lord Tianchu would not let him off easy, because he had killed his son. After this battle, Realm Lord Tianchu would definitely think of other ways to kill him. He might even invite other experts to join forces. If they met again, it would not be easy for him to escape unscathed. Therefore, Jian Wushuang felt a lot of pressure. Chapter 2879. Cloud-patterned armor. It was a possible way for Jian Wushuang to improve his realm. After all, he had consumed 2 million saint elixirs from Mo Tao. However, he had used only 200,000 of them to break through to an elementary Great Divine Master level, and the remaining 1.8 million saint elixirs were used to accumulate divine power. In addition, he had refined 500,000 sacred elixirs from young Master Chu and the others in the past 3 years, which had allowed him to accumulate enough divine power. As a result, he was not far from the rank of Senior Great Divine Master. Jian Wushuang estimated that he only needed another 400,000 sacred elixirs to break through to the rank of Senior Great Divine Master. When that time came, his divine power would soar again. Even though his comprehension of the rules, sword principle, and absolute arts were not as good as that of Realm Lord Tianchu, he would still be able to increase his divine power significantly by using various secret skills. Even if his divine power were more potent than that of Realm Lord Tianchu, he would still be able to compete with Realm Lord Tianchu head-on. However, he did not have the 400,000 sacred elixirs on hand at the moment. I have to find a way to deal with some treasures, Jian Wushuang murmured. He had many treasures, many of which were extremely valuable. Besides the few treasures that he could use, there were 3 treasures that he could sell in exchange for sacred elixirs. He also had 3 treasures in his hand. They were silver armor, a baby-sized black beast statue, and a dark gray jade slip. All 3 treasures came from the same place, the secret realm in the Pil Sun Sacred World, and they were all from Elder Gu. When Jian Wushuang first went to the secret realm and met Elder Gu for the first time, the elder gave them an opportunity. It was an interspatial ring, which many of them fought for. But, in the end, the interspatial ring fell into Jian Wushuang's hands. All 3 treasures came from the interspatial ring, and they were all precious. This jade slip contains teleportation. It can be used to save my life at critical moments. It's scarce. Although I haven't encountered a crisis where I need to use teleportation to escape, I can't guarantee that I won't encounter it in the future. So I'd better keep this token, Jian Wushuang muttered. He put the jade slip back into his interspatial ring. This strange beast statue has such a strong destructive power. Although I haven't comprehended the destructive power, this statue is of no use to me. However, I have a feeling that this strange beast statue is extraordinary. Maybe it will have other uses in the future. Jian Wushuang pondered for a moment. Finally, he put the strange beast statue back into his interspatial ring. 2 of the 3 treasures had been put back into his interspatial ring, so there was only 1 treasure left in front of Jian Wushuang. It was the silver armor, the cloud pattern armor. Cloud pattern armor, a protective armor at the level of a holy treasure. Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled. A holy treasure was worth a lot. An offensive magic weapon at the level of a holy treasure was like that. But a protective armor was even more expensive. Unfortunately, the protective armor was only at the level of a third-grade ordinary holy treasure. And it was not a natal armor, so its value was significantly reduced. However, it was definitely worth 400,000 saint elixirs or even more. I have my golden armor on the protective armor. It's enough for a short period. This cloud pattern armor is not fatal, so it's of no use to me. In the future, as my strength continues to increase, I'll probably see a protective armor at this level often. It won't be a rare thing. It's just right to sell it for saint elixirs. Jian Wushuang had made up his mind. He immediately took out a token. This token was Mo Tao's communication token. Brother Mo, I have something to ask you. Jian Wushuang sent a message directly. What is it? Mo Tao replied very quickly, and his attitude was still very gentle. It's like this. I have protective armor at the level of a holy treasure. I want to exchange this protective armor for a saint elixirs, but I don't know how much I can exchange for it. Jian Wushuang asked. A protective armor at the level of a holy treasure? Mo Tao was slightly surprised and said, You are blessed. Although of course, you are only a divine master. You have a treasure that many immortal saints are envious of. A protective armor at the level of a holy treasure is something that many immortal saints do not have. Jian Wushuang smiled awkwardly. He also knew that Mo Tao was telling the truth. Protective armor at the holy treasure level was not standard in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. Among the immortal saints in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow, very few had it. My friend, I wonder what level the protective armor is. Is it the natal armor? Mo Tao asked. It's not the natal armor. It's not high level. It's just an ordinary 3rd-grade holy treasure, Jian Wushuang said. In that case, your armor won't be precious, but it's more than enough for 1 million saint elixirs, Mo Tao said. 1 million saint elixirs? Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. He only needed about 400,000 saint elixirs to break through to the advanced divine master level. 1 million saint elixirs were far more than he needed. It's a pity that I gave you 2 million sacred elixirs. Although I still have some, they have other uses. Otherwise, you can give me the armor, and it'll give you 1 million sacred elixirs, Mo Tao said. Brother Mo, you've helped me a lot. How could I dare to trouble you again? Jian Wushuang smiled and said, But is there a place in the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City where I can sell the armor? Yes. Mo Tao nodded. The Dragon Phoenix Sacred City is the territory of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Although there is no Star Pavilion here, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion also runs a Dragon Phoenix Pavilion shop. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion is located in the 4 markets of the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City. You can go there. Moreover, the 4 markets of the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City have powerful restriction arrays. For example, there are restrictions for fighting. You can go there and sell it without worry. I understand. Thank you, Brother Mo, Jian Wushuang said gratefully. After breaking off the communication with Mo Tao, Jian Wushuang immediately set off for the nearest big market. Although it was called a market, it was like a large city, bustling with noise and excitement. There was indeed a layer of significant restriction around the market. Even if the limitation had not been activated, it still gave off a strong feeling. Even the immortal saint himself might not be able to break the restriction. Chapter 2880. Waiting in a secret room in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Jian Wushuang took out a silver armor. This is. One of the pavilion masters stared at the silver armor with his eyes wide open. He stared at the silver armor and felt its power. Sir, if I'm not mistaken, this should be a holy treasure level protective armor, right? Although the Tower Master was only a peak Great Divine Master, he was very knowledgeable and could tell the level of the armor at a glance. Cloud Pattern Armor is an ordinary 3rd-grade Holy Treasure protective armor, but it's not a natal armor, Jian Wushuang said. Indeed. The Tower Master nodded slightly and then asked, What do you want to exchange for it, sir? 1 million sacred elixirs, Jian Wushuang said directly. 1 million sacred elixirs? The Tower Master remained calm on the surface, but he was secretly delighted. Even if it was not a natal armor, it was still very rare in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. Many immortal saints did not have such armor. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had several such armors. But who would complain about having too many treasures? 1 million holy elixirs were nothing to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. It was worth it to exchange 1 million saint elixirs for a holy treasure-level armor. Please wait for a moment. I'll send someone to deliver the saint elixirs immediately, the Tower Master said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. 1 million saint elixirs was not a small amount. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion alone certainly did not have them. Naturally, they had to be delivered from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Jian Wushuang waited quietly in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. It did not take long for the Tower Master to deliver an interspatial ring to him. Jian Wushuang checked it carefully and left without making any mistakes. Jian Wushuang walked on the street of the market, looking around from time to time. I didn't put on any disguise when I entered the market, even when I just entered the Dragon Phoenix Tower. If the Realm Lord Tian Chu used an intelligence organization, he could easily find me. He should know that I'm in the market now, and he might even have rushed out of the market. However, the market is controlled by the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion has a clear rule that no killing is allowed in the market. No matter what, I'm afraid that Realm Lord Tian Chu has to give face to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. No matter how much he wants to kill me, he can only do it after I leave the market. I shouldn't be in any trouble now, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Now that I've got the saint elixirs, I'll find a place to refine them first. I'll leave the market after I've broken through to Senior Divine Master and have the confidence to face Sector Lord Jiu Chu head-on. Having made up his mind, Jian Wushuang immediately found a secret room in the market and began to cultivate in seclusion. As Jian Wushuang had expected, the Realm Lord had already known about his presence in the market. At this moment, 4 figures stood in the void outside the market. They were the Realm Lord Qi Ming, the young master of the Starpoint Pavilion, and Elder Su, the black-robed elder. The last one was a middle-aged man in a purple robe, who looked extremely warm and kind, with an intoxicating smile on his face. However, it was precisely this kind of middle-aged man who had a fearsome reputation in the Golden Crow 9 realms. He was the Heavenly Void Palace Master, an extremely tyrannical and cruel immortal saint. He was also a Realm Lord. In terms of strength, he might not be comparable to Realm Lord Tian Chu, but in terms of ferocity, he was a level higher than Realm Lord Tian Chu. I've already received the exact news. After Jian Yi came out of the Dragon Phoenix Tower, he immediately found a secret room and began his closed-door cultivation. Elder Su said, "Cultivate." Realm Master Tian Chu and Temple Master Tianx's faces darkened. After reaching the level of Great Divine Master, many Great Divine Masters lost track of time when they cultivated in seclusion. Many Great Divine Masters spent hundreds, thousands, or even longer in seclusion. Jian Wushuang was staying in the market. Because of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, they did not dare to kill him in the market. They could only wait outside. What if they waited for hundreds, thousands of years? We have no choice. After all, this is the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City, the territory of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Even if we are one of the 4 pavilions, we have to give a face to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. We cannot easily violate the rules set by the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion in the market. Otherwise, we will offend the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion will definitely attack. Even if they can't kill us, they can teach us a lesson, Elder Su said. No one dared to look down on one of the 4 most ancient pavilions in the Golden Crow 9 realms. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's foundation was very solid. Although on the surface, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion only had a few immortal saints, Elder Su was very clear that if the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion really got close to their territory, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had the ability to keep all 3 of them here. The Heavenly Void Palace Lord and Realm Lord were very clear about this. Hence, they did not dare to go against the rules of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. In the entire Golden Crow 9 realms, there was only one person who dared to go against the rules of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. That person was Lord Bone Emperor. That Lord Bone Emperor was extremely powerful. He could do whatever he wanted in the Golden Crow 9 realms, and did not need to worry about the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. However, that Lord Bone Emperor would not do so easily. In other words, we can only wait here for Jian to come out of his closed-door cultivation. Realm Lord Tianchu asked in a low voice. This is the only way. Elder Su nodded slightly. Not according to what I know, Jian is an out-and-out super genius. In the entire Golden Crow 9 realms, other than the young phoenix of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, I'm afraid that no one can compare to him. In addition, his rise speed is extremely fast. In just a short 100 years, a super genius whose strength has risen so quickly wouldn't be able to stay in closed-door cultivation for too long. I estimate that he would be able to come out of closed-door cultivation in at most a few decades, or even a few years. Realm Lord Tianchu, Heavenly Void Palace Lord, the two of you shouldn't care about this little bit of time, right? I'm not in a rush. In any case, there's nothing much to do in my Heavenly Void world. The Great Void Palace Lord smiled. The moment this sword killed my son, I can't wait to kill him right now. The longer he lives, the angrier I feel. Chapter 2881 was out. Realm Lord Tianchu and the others waited quietly outside the market. They waited for 5 years. 5 years later, Jian Wushuang finally walked out of the secret chamber. After coming out of seclusion, his realm had reached the advanced divine master level, and his strength had soared. At the same time, Jian Wushuang's bottleneck in sword principle had loosened. Now I feel that half of my foot has stepped into the second realm of sword principle. The gap between the two is probably only a window paper that can be broken with a poke, Jian Wushuang muttered. Sword principle world was only the first realm. After the sword world was the boundless sword tree. This level was already at the level of the immortal saint. But now Jian Wushuang had indeed sensed this level. The gap was just a window paper. To break this window paper, he needed some external force, which was a great battle. Right now, I really need a great battle so that I can fully display my understanding of sword principle. Only then can I have a chance to break through this bottleneck. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. Right now, he yearned for a great battle. Moreover, the stronger the opponent, the better. At the very least, it would bring him great pressure, and even pose a threat to him. And such a great battle happened to be right in front of him. Although I have been in closed-door cultivation in this market for a full 5 years, given the hatred Realm Lord Tianchu has for me, he definitely won't care about this little bit of time. I'm afraid that he has been waiting for me outside the market for the past 5 years. As long as I go out, he will immediately take action. Moreover, he must have found other helpers. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. There was a hint of excitement in his eyes. Realm Lord Tianchu was a real immortal saint, and he was extremely powerful among them. Jian Wushuang knew that he was no match for him last time, so he used his domain to escape. But now, Jian Wushuang was eager to have a face-to-face fight with Realm Lord Tianchu. Realm Lord Tianchu, I hope you won't disappoint me this time. Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled, and he immediately walked out of the market. In the vast void outside the market, Jian has come out of seclusion, and is walking out of the market, Elder Su said. He's finally out. Realm Master Tianchu and Heavenly Void Temple Master were delighted. Heavenly Void Temple Master, have you prepared your restriction? Realm Master Tianchu asked. Don't worry, I've prepared it long ago. Temple Master Tianchu said with a smile. That's good. With your restriction and Elder Su's domain-type treasure, the sword won't be able to escape this time. A cold light flashed in his eyes. At this moment, Jian Wushuang had already walked out of the market and left the area covered by the array. As soon as he came out, Realm Master Tianchu and the others who were waiting there immediately noticed him. Let's do it, World Master Tianchu said in a low voice. Next to him, the Heavenly Void Temple Master still had a gentle smile on his face. However, with a flip of his palm, a strange black bead was thrown out and merged with the surrounding void. In an instant, buzz, a huge black restriction rose out of thin air. It was extremely huge and powerful. As soon as it appeared, it instantly covered the world. Jian Wushuang had just come out of the market, and had not walked far when he was immediately covered by the black restriction. Even the restriction is ready? Jian Wushuang's expression changed, but there was a hint of a smile in his heart. He had already stopped moving. World Master Tian Chu, come out. Jian Wushuang's bright voice echoed throughout the world. As soon as his voice fell, Realm Lord Tian Chu, who had been hiding in the surrounding void, appeared directly in front of Jian Wushuang. Realm Lord Tian Chu's face was cold, and his body was filled with a murderous aura. He stared at Jian Wushuang and said, "Boy, we meet again. Judging from your appearance, you seem to have known that I would attack you outside the market." "Of course." Jian Wushuang nodded. "I didn't disguise myself in the market. With your ability, Realm Lord Tian Chu, wouldn't it be easy for you to find me?" "Humph. You know that I'm going to attack you, but you still dare to walk out of the market alone. How dare you?" Realm Lord Tian Chu said in a low voice. Realm Lord Tian Chu, cut the crap. Show me whatever you have. I hope you are well prepared this time. Otherwise, you can only watch me leave like last time. Jian Wushuang smiled. "If I'm not wrong, you must have hired other helpers this time. Ask them to come out." "You're smart." Realm Lord Tian Chu's voice was cold. At this time, two figures rushed over from the distant void and appeared beside Realm Lord Tian Chu. At the same time, two powerful auras, which only immortal saints possessed, directly pressed toward Jian Wushuang. Two more immortal saints. Jian Wushuang's face darkened, and he immediately looked at the two. "You are." Jian Wushuang first looked at the middle-aged man who was wearing a purple robe and gave off an extremely warm and kind feeling. He did not know this middle-aged man. "You are Jian Yi?" The middle-aged man looked down at Jian Wushuang. Although his eyes were cold, he still had a gentle smile on his face. "I am the Heavenly Void Temple Master." The Heavenly Void Temple Master? Jian Wushuang was stunned for a moment, but then he understood. Among the immortal saints in the Golden Crow 9 realms, other than the World Master Tian Chu, the most likely immortal saint who had a reason to kill him was the Heavenly Void Temple Master. The Heavenly Void Temple Master tried to occupy the Pill Sun Sacred World, but he was the one who turned the tables. Now, because of his existence, the Heavenly Void Temple Master could do nothing to the Pill Sun Sacred World. However, if he died, not to mention the internal chaos of the Pill Sun Sacred World, the Heavenly Void Temple Master would then attack the Pill Sun Sacred World. He was much more confident. Then, Jian Wushuang looked at the other person. Jian Wushuang had seen that person before. It was the black-robed elder who had followed Qi Ming, the young master of the Star Point Pavilion. Someone from the Star Point Pavilion? Jian Wushuang frowned. He could understand that the Heavenly Void Temple Master wanted to attack him, but the Star Point Pavilion? Jian Wushuang knew that he had not offended the Star Point Pavilion. He did not have any conflict of interest with the Star Point Pavilion. The only explanation was that it was because of Lung Rushuang. But it was not enough for an immortal saint to attack him personally. Therefore, Jian Wushuang was somewhat surprised by the appearance of the black-robed elder. Although he was surprised, Jian Wushuang did not show much fear. To kill me, a mere divine master, 3 immortal saints came together. You really think highly of me? Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Chapter 2882. The 3 immortal saints. To be able to make us 3 immortal saints attack together. Jian Yi, even if you die, you can rest in peace. The Heavenly Void Palace Master said gently. Don't waste any more time. Directly attack and kill him. The Heavenly Void Palace Master's voice was extremely cold. Leave it to me. The black-robed old man smiled. His god body immediately released a ring of flame. This ring of flame emitted an extremely hot and tyrannical aura. It was clearly an extremely powerful sacred treasure. Go! Elder Su's right hand gently tapped. This ring of flame instantly expanded. Hong hong! Endless flames madly surged out. The flames burned and swept in all directions, covering the entire void in an instant, causing the entire void to sink into a huge sea of fire. Being in the sea of fire, a scorching power crazily pressed toward Jian Wushuang. A domain-type treasure? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. This flame halo was obviously a domain-type treasure, and judging from its power, It had definitely reached the level of a holy treasure. A domain-type treasure at the level of a sacred treasure was displayed by a genuine immortal saint, and its power was truly shocking. The sea of fire that filled the sky swept out, and its movements were also shocking. The entire world was shaking crazily. However, it must be known that this void was just around the market. Such a huge commotion naturally spread to the market. Immediately, a large number of experts and cultivators in the market city were alarmed. Countless figures flew up and arrived around the market city. They all looked toward this void. The aura of the immortal saint is not just one, but three. Three immortal saint. The experts in the city were all shocked. The immortal saint was absolutely invincible in the Golden Crow 9 realms. Normally, it was extremely difficult to even see one. But now, there were three of them in the void. And very quickly, the identities of these three immortal saints were all recognized. That's the Realm Lord Tian Chu, the Heavenly Void Palace Lord, and the last one is Elder Su from the Starpoint Pavilion. What are these three supreme existences doing there? From the position that they are standing at, it doesn't seem like the three of them are fighting each other, but rather they are working together. Yes, the three of them should be working together, and the person they are going to deal with. Everyone's gazes instantly turned towards a certain direction. In that direction, a young man dressed in golden robes stood there. The aura emitted by this young man caused everyone present to be extremely shocked. Reverend God. It's actually a reverend God. Three immortal saints came out together just to deal with a reverend God? Is this a joke? Everyone felt their minds go blank. Reverend God and immortal saints were completely worlds apart. Under normal circumstances, if an immortal saint was determined to kill a reverend God, even the extremely powerful and terrifying unrivaled reverend God would have no chance of escaping. Therefore, it was very easy for the immortal saint to kill a reverend God. He could easily kill him alone. But now, the three immortal saints had come out at the same time, and it was obvious that they were well prepared. They had deliberately set up a restriction, and even took out a domain-type holy treasure. The experts who saw this scene could not help exclaiming in surprise. Who was this divine master that the three immortal saints had gone to so much trouble to kill? In the center of the void, Jian Wushuang was still standing there indifferently among the comments of many cultivators. He was still in the sea of fire, and the scorching power was still pressing on his body. However, his expression was still very calm. Jianyi, aren't you good at domains? And you seem to have a domain-type holy treasure in your hand. Why don't you take it out? Elder Su looked at Jian Wushuang with a faint smile. Although he said that deep down, he was disdainful of Jian Wushuang's domain-type skills. Even if Jian Wushuang did have a domain-type holy treasure in his hand, the power of a treasure of the same level was completely different from that of a divine master. He was confident that his domain could definitely crush Jian Wushuang. Hearing his words, Jian Wushuang finally smiled and said, "As you wish." As soon as he finished speaking, the scarlet compass on Jian Wushuang's body immediately appeared, and then a vast blood-red river immediately surged out. The blood-red river was also surging, and as soon as it appeared, it crazily swept in all directions. The impact immediately seemed as if alcohol had been added to a raging fire. The power of the surrounding sea of fire suddenly soared, and endless flames surged up and covered the blood-red river, wanting to completely destroy it. Haha, this domain-type treasure of yours is not weak, but unfortunately, you are too weak to use its power. It's much weaker than my domain, Elder Su said with a laugh. Is that so? Jian Wushuang curled his lips, and majestic golden divine power surged from his body. Behind him, a 30,000-meter tall golden emperor phantom condensed out of thin air. The star power in his body was also directly activated, causing his divine power aura to suddenly soar. A layer of dark golden armor also appeared on the surface of his body. 7-star secret skill, divine punishment, and 9 luminary star armor were all used. Originally, the power of the 9-universe bloodlight river, which was driven by Jian Wushuang's own divine power, was indeed not as powerful as the surrounding sea of fire. But now, with the 3 secret skills being used together, the power of Jian Wushuang's divine power immediately increased by dozens of times, The power of the nine-universe blood light river also increased sharply. Rumble! The surging blood-red river surged crazily, forming an indestructible steel torrent that spread wildly in all directions. The flames that came in contact with the blood-red torrent were immediately extinguished. The steel torrent swept through everything as easily as breaking dried twigs, forcing the surrounding sea of fire to retreat. In the blink of an eye, the entire vast space was in the middle of the blood river flood. The terrifying pressure contained within the blood river instantly affected Elder Su, Realm Lord Tian Chu, and Heavenly Void Palace Lord. This caused the expressions of the three immortal saints to sink. How is this possible? Elder Su's face was filled with disbelief. He is only a deity, and he is also a domain-type sacred treasure like me. However, the domain that I used with my full strength was actually suppressed by his domain? Elder Su was completely stunned. The Heavenly Void Palace Master and Realm Lord beside him were also extremely shocked. Chapter 2883. One-on-one battle against the three saints outside the void. In the nearby market, countless cultivators were gathered there, focusing their attention on this battle. However, when they saw the scene in front of them, all of them were shocked. Elder Su, the Grand Immortal Saint, used all his strength to activate his domain-type Holy Treasure. But in the end, he was still no match for the domain-type Holy Treasure that was activated by the Hierarch. He was completely suppressed by the Hierarch's blood river? How is this possible? How can a Divine Master's domain be so powerful? Even if the Divine Master used a domain-type Holy Treasure, his divine power is still incomparable. Everyone was a little dumbfounded. Everyone was in disbelief. Only Jian Wushuang himself was not surprised to see this scene. 5 years ago, when I was fighting with Realm Lord Tian Chu, I could see that although I was not as powerful as the Immortal Saint in terms of divine power, the gap was not too big. Now 5 years later, I have broken through from a junior Great Divine Master to a senior Great Divine Master, and my divine power has soared again. After using the various secret skills, I will definitely not be weaker than the ordinary Immortal Saint in terms of divine power. I might even be slightly stronger, Jian Wushuang muttered. It was a fact that his divine power was stronger than that of an ordinary Immortal Saint. In addition to the Nine Universes Blood Light River, his divine power was obviously stronger than that of Elder Su's Flame Halo. The Nine Universes Blood Light River was personally refined by Brother Mo. It's a top-tier third-grade holy treasure, while the Flame Halo is only an ordinary third-grade holy treasure. There's a gap of 2 levels, and my divine power is stronger than that of the Immortal Saint from the Point Star Pavilion. Of course my domain is more powerful, Jian Wushuang sneered. Now that he had fully activated the Nine-Universe Bloodlight River, Elder Su's flame domain had been completely suppressed. However, that was not all. Jian Wushuang's dark golden armor was covered by a layer of dark golden light. Majestic golden divine power surged and covered the void in front of him, and his sword world also came into effect. Star Armor Domain, the Prison of Punishment and Sword World. 3 more domains, and the Nine-Universe Bloodlight River were perfectly stacked together. In an instant, the power of the Blood River, that was already extremely powerful, increased by another level. Elder Su, Heavenly Oasis Palace Master, and Heavenly Oasis Palace Master were all immortal saints, but under the suppression of this domain, their strength was suppressed to a certain extent. This suppression made them only be able to use less than 80% of their strength. I didn't expect that we immortal saints would actually be suppressed by a divine master domain. The gentle smile on the Heavenly Void Palace Lord's face vanished, replaced by a layer of coldness. So what if the domain is strong? In any case, there are restrictions around. Since this brat escaped, with us 3 immortal saints acting, does he still have a chance to survive? Realm Lord Tian Chu snorted coldly, his body already moving. Boom! Realm Lord Tian Chu's murderous aura surged like a wild beast. In just an instant, he appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. On his right hand, there was a black glove, which was filled with boundless divine power and destructive power. When the 2 powers reached their limits, they gathered together. Bang! Realm Lord Tian Chu struck out with his palm, and the world suddenly shook. A giant hand descended from the sky, The giant hand was pitch black, like the hand of the heavenly Tao, and it could destroy the world. It descended to destroy everything. Jian Wushuang was the target of the giant hand. Its power is even stronger than the last time it attacked me. Moreover, its strength is limited by my realm. Jian Wushuang was impressed by the giant hand that fell from the sky, but his hand did not slow down. He poured all his divine power into the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. Cut! With a low shout, the Blood Mountain sword slashed out in anger. It was like a sword that could split the sky. The sword light could split the heaven and earth, let alone a giant hand. Whoosh! The pitch-black giant hand that could destroy heaven and earth was instantly split apart. An endless destructive power spread wildly in all directions. However, as soon as the giant hand was split apart, Jian Wushuang's pupils suddenly shrank, because the black-robed Elder Su had already appeared in front of him. When Elder Su appeared, he already had a red-gold long stick in his hand. This long stick was extremely thick and 3 meters long. As Elder Su waved his hands, the red-gold long stick instantly turned into a huge red-gold mountain. It swept toward Jian Wushuang in a mighty manner. A shrill sound of rushing wind was heard. Before the long stick approached, Jian Wushuang had already sensed the terrifying power of the long stick. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. The Blood Mountain sword suddenly swept out and blocked in front of him. Bang! With a loud sound, the terrifying power directly transmitted over, causing Jian Wushuang's arms to go numb. This power is so strong. Jian Wushuang was secretly shocked, but he knew that in terms of the strength of his divine power, his full strength was stronger than that of an ordinary immortal saint. He should be stronger than Elder Su. However, the strength of divine power did not represent everything. His understanding of sword principle and understanding of rules were far inferior to those of the immortal saint, not to mention the secret skill he created. Elder Su waved his long stick, which was bound to be accompanied by his comprehension of rules, the stick principle, and even the absolute arts of the saints. Naturally, Jian Wushuang was not able to resist it. At this moment, Jian Wushuang's figure had already shot back crazily. However, before he completely stopped, a strange figure had already appeared beside him. It was the Heavenly Void Temple Master. The Heavenly Void Temple Master looked very gentle, but he was actually the most insidious of the three. As soon as he appeared, he let out an evil laugh and his body expanded. 4 arms appeared on his body at the same time, each of which held a purple spear tightly, in an instant. Whoosh! 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 The purple spear turned into streaks of purple light and stabbed toward Jian Wushuang at an extremely fast speed. Before Jian Wushuang could stand firm, he was caught off guard by the sudden thrust of the spear. However, his reaction was very fast, and the Blood Mountain sword had already met it. Clang! 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 Chapter 2884. Guiding Sword Essence. I can't block it anymore. Jian Wushuang's face darkened. Clang! A purple spear pierced the Blood Mountain sword, causing it to slightly change its direction. The other purple spear, which pierced out simultaneously, grazed the Blood Mountain sword and suddenly stabbed toward Jian Wushuang's heart. Jian Wushuang could not resist it, but before the purple spear touched his divine body, a purple Emperor Bell appeared. The purple Emperor Bell formed a layer of purple energy shield in front of Jian Wushuang. As the purple spear stabbed toward him, the energy shield only lasted for a moment before it cracked. The purple Emperor Bell is still a top-tier heavenly treasure. Unfortunately, it can't withstand the attack of the immortal saint with the saint treasure. Jian Wushuang frowned. After breaking the energy shield of the purple Emperor Bell, the purple spear continued to stab at Jian Wushuang. However, because the purple spear had weakened too much, it could not even break the dark golden armor on Jian Wushuang's body. However, Jian Wushuang was still in a terrible situation. It was not easy for him to stabilize his body. When he looked up again, he saw that the World Master, the Temple Master, and Elder Su had surrounded him in a triangle. It's tough for me to fight against 3 immortal saints at once. They didn't use their full strength just now, but I'm still at an absolute disadvantage. So I can only use that move to fight them. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. A faint sword essence had already risen. This sword essence seemed weak and did not have much power, but it instantly surged into the Blood Mountain sword in Jian Wushuang's hand. There was a supreme sword essence hidden in the Blood Mountain sword. The supreme sword essence was extremely powerful, but now Jian Wushuang had already begun to guide it. Boom! The terrifying sword essence directly exploded in the Blood Mountain sword. The power of this sword essence was not too strong, but it was extraordinary. It was a supreme sword essence that carried a shocking will. The sword essence swept across the world, and all the ants in the world were ants. Jian Wushuang held the Blood Mountain sword tightly and felt the supreme sword essence that burst out from the Blood Mountain sword. He even felt that all the people in the world were subservient to him. At this moment, he was the king of billions of sword principles. World Master Tian Chu, Temple Master Tian Su, and Elder Su surrounding him immediately sensed the sword essence. This sword essence, it's so powerful and transcendent. As expected, the sword principle treasure refined by Mo Tao is the divine sword in this kid's hand. Elder Su's eyes were abnormally hot. The three immortal saints had made reasonable arrangements before they attacked. The Blood Mountain sword in Jian Wushuang's hand was his. Therefore, the more powerful the sword was, the happier he would be. Kill him! Realm Lord Tian Chu shouted in a low voice. Endless destructive power surged out from his body, but he attacked again. Elder Su and the Heavenly Void Temple Master did not hesitate. They immediately went forward. The three immortal saints attacked again. Boom! This time, both of Realm Lord Tian Chu's hands were filled with black divine power, but both of his hands attacked Jian Wushuang crazily. Elder Su held the golden long stick tightly in his hands. This time, the long stick fell from the sky and smashed toward Jian Wushuang. As for the four arms of the Heavenly Void Temple Master, each of them held a purple spear. The purple spear was like purple lightning, shooting toward Jian Wushuang. Although the three immortal saints still had some trump cards that they had not used, their strength as immortal saints had burst out. Their attacks were also extremely terrifying, which made the countless cultivators in the market speechless. However, Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with a fierce light, and his supreme sword essence instantly soared. Get lost! Jian Wushuang let out an angry shout, and slashed out with the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. This sword carried a shocking power, and brought out Jian Wushuang's power and comprehension of sword principle to the fullest. He also guided the supreme sword essence in the Blood Mountain sword to the greatest extent. The sword essence of Blood Mountain sword was too strong. With Jian Wushuang's current ability, he could only guide less than 1,000th of it. But even if it was less than 1,000th of its power, it was enough to increase the power of Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship by more than 10 times. Boom! A huge sword light that blotted out the sky appeared out of thin air. This sword light was extremely resplendent, and attracted everyone's attention the moment it appeared. At the same time, everyone could feel the terrifying power contained within this sword light that could destroy everything and tear apart the heavens and earth. This power even caused the eyes of the three immortal saints who had already unleashed their attacks to shrink. This power, be careful! Elder Su shouted. In an instant, the three of them switched from attacking to defending. The three of them attacked together, trying to block this earth-shaking sword light. The strength of the immortal saint was not undeserved. Under the combined attack of the three of them, the sword light was finally blocked. However, the power of the sword light was so strong that it still forced the three of them to retreat a long distance, and even made them look a bit embarrassed. The sword essence did not disappoint me. Jian Wushuang looked at all of this with a hint of excitement in his eyes. He knew that the sword essence in the Blood Mountain sword was very powerful. Even if it only guided less than 1,000th of its power, it could still make the power of his swordsmanship soar. He had tried it before, and the power of the swordsmanship had increased by more than 10 times. However, he had never really guided the sword essence to fight with others, and this was the first time. This was the first time he had displayed the power of this sword intent, and its power was indeed shocking. Now that I'm using my full strength, my divine power is slightly stronger than ordinary immortal saints, and with the guidance of sword intent, the power of my sword technique will increase by more than 10 times. Under such a premise, Even if my comprehension of the rules, understanding of the sword principle, and even my absolute arts are inferior to immortal saints, it's still enough to fight with immortal saints head-on. Even if it's 1 against 3, I'm not afraid at all. Come on. Jian Wushuang's killing intent surged, and his supreme sword essence swept out in all directions. He faced the 3 immortal saints alone with 1 sword, and did not show any fear at all. Chapter 2885. Fight with all your might, kill. With a roar, Jian Wushuang, who was surging with boundless battle intent, transformed into a sword principal master, and charged out with a terrifying aura. Be careful. Don't be careless. This kid is extraordinary. World Master Tian Chu, Heavenly Void Temple Master, and Elder Su did not dare to be careless in the face of Jian Wushuang, the Divine Master. The 3 of them had fully displayed their strength. Boom! The palm print, which contained limitless destructive power, struck toward Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang did not even bother to look at the palm print. Instead, he casually slashed out with his sword. Then, after channeling the supreme sword essence in the Blood Mountain sword, the sword's power was shocking, and the palm print was instantly shattered. Is his swordsmanship so powerful? Realm Lord Tian Chu's face darkened. During their fight with Jian Wushuang, both Heavenly Void Temple Master and Elder Su felt tremendous pressure from Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship. Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship was too powerful. Even though his comprehension of the rules, sword principle, and absolute arts were not as good as the 3 of them, when he unleashed his full strength, any of the sword lights that he slashed out were enough to make the 3 of them pay full attention to it. At this moment, Jian Wushuang's expression changed, and a golden light directly merged into the surrounding void. In an instant the world changed. An actual scroll world appeared out of nowhere in the vast and boundless sky. There were mountains and rivers in the scroll world, as well as 9 towering continents. In addition, an ancient and mysterious aura spread out from the scroll world. Is this mysterious? World Lord Tian Chu, Heavenly Void Temple Master, and Elder Su frowned. When they saw the scroll world, they had a bad premonition. Jian Wushuang's eyes focused. Buzz! Buzz! The surrounding void was transformed in an instant. The original void had disappeared, and was replaced by a desolate and boundless open space. There were many divine swords stuck upside down in this open space. There were all kinds of divine swords, and each of them emitted an extremely terrifying aura. However, there were over 100,000 divine swords in this vast empty space. It was obvious that this was a sword tomb, a huge sword tomb. The 1,000 Treasures Great World, the Sword Path World, had already been activated. What is this? Realm Lord Tian Chu, Heavenly Void Palace Lord, and Elder Su were all at a loss. An illusion? Realm Lord Tian Chu's expression sank, but he quickly shook his head. No, this isn't an illusion, it's a real space. Seems like the treasure Jian Yi took out earlier should be an extremely powerful treasure. It can actually change the environment. Elder Su's eyes were burning. In this world, I can clearly sense that the sword Dao in the surroundings is getting stronger. The sword intent emitted by Jian Yi is also much stronger than before. His strength should increase by quite a bit here. We have to be careful. Heavenly Void Temple Master said solemnly. The sword essence in the Blood Mountain sword had been guided. The Mountain River map, and the 1,000 Treasures Great World had been displayed. At this moment, Jian Wushuang had indeed gone all out and used all his trump cards. At this moment, his battle strength had also reached its peak. Boom! Jian Wushuang attacked again. In the sword principle world, the power of his swordsmanship soared again. His body was also full of fighting spirit, as he fought fiercely with the 3 immortal saints in front of him. Under Jian Wushuang's full power, although the 3 immortal saints, including Realm Lord Tian Chu, Temple Master Tian Su, and Elder Su joined hands, they could only fight evenly with Jian Wushuang for a short time. Even when Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship really erupted, the 3 of them had to retreat in a one-on-one situation. This battle was too intense. Around the battlefield, countless cultivators were standing in the marketplace, looking at the battlefield in astonishment. The scene on the battlefield had completely exceeded their imagination. A mere divine master fighting against 3 immortal saints at the same time. How could he fight against 3 immortal saints? He's too strong. This divine master is too strong. The 3 immortal saints, Realm Lord Tianqiu, Heavenly Void Temple Master, and Elder Su, are only evenly matched with him. If it were a one-on-one fight, none of them would be a match for this divine master. How could there be such a terrifying divine master in this world? And how come we've never heard of such a divine master before? Who is this divine master? What is his name? Countless experts were exclaiming in surprise. At the same time, they were all curious about Jian Wushuang's identity. Jian Wushuang had just come from the Pil Sun Sacred World, so the cultivators in the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City hardly knew him. From their conversation, we can hear that this divine master is called Jian Yi. But who is Jian Yi? I don't know, I've never heard of him, but today's battle will definitely shake the world. Right. A divine master is able to fight against 3 immortal saints at the same time and fight equally. If news of this battle spreads, it will shock the world. Even that young phoenix from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion might not be able to compare to him. The eyes of most of the cultivators in the market were shining. The young phoenix of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was recognized as the #1 genius in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. She was a true genius, and her talent was unparalleled in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. However, now that Jian Wushuang had shown such a terrifying result, everyone was impressed. Naturally, these people began to compare Jian Wushuang with Phoenix. In this competition, they found that although Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the rules and talent was not as good as Phoenix's, in terms of fighting strength and ability to challenge opponents of higher levels, he was much more terrifying than Phoenix. A divine master could fight against 3 immortal saints at the same time. How strong would he be when he broke through to the immortal saint level in the future? While countless cultivators in the market were gasping in amazement, the battle between the two sides was getting more and more intense. The 3 immortal saints, including Realm Lord Tianqiu, Heavenly Void Temple Master, and Elder Su, did not hold back anymore. They used all their strength and cooperated with each other. Even so, they still could not gain the upper hand after fighting Jian Wushuang for a long time. They still could not gain the upper hand. This made the 3 of them look a little embarrassed. After all, they were fighting in front of so many people. Chapter 2886. Ultimate move. This brat, he's just a divine master. How can he be so hard to deal with? Elder Su's expression was dark. Heavenly Void Elder Su, create an opportunity for me. I have a move that should be enough to kill him. Realm Lord Tianqiu said coldly. Elder Su and Heavenly Void Palace Lord's expressions changed. The 2 of them had seen Realm Lord Tianqiu's most decisive move before. That move caused them to be extremely wary. However, it was not easy to execute that move. Nevertheless, this Realm Lord Tianqiu had no other choice. Hence he chose to use that move. Watch me. The eyes of the Heavenly Void Palace Master, narrowed as a violet lightning energy, suddenly flashed out from his eyes. He still had 4 arms, each holding a purple spear tightly. But at this moment, a vast purple shadow suddenly appeared behind him. This purple shadow looked exactly like Heavenly Void Temple Master, but its size was many times larger. Terrifying divine power gathered in each of Heavenly Void Temple Master's 4 spears. 13 slaughter divine spears. Heavenly Void Temple Master shouted. The 4 spears in his hand turned into 4 purple thunderbolts and shot toward Jian Wushuang crazily. Fast, the 4 purple thunderbolts were too fast. Each of the purple thunderbolts contained terrifying power. Any one of them could quickly kill invincible divine masters, like Marquis of 3 and Black Blood Emperor. However, at this moment, the Heavenly Void Temple Master swung his arm wildly. A total of 14 such purple thunderbolts shot toward Jian Wushuang at the same time. Jian Wushuang was in the Sword Principal World, and had channeled the sword essence of Blood Mountain Sword to the maximum. His fighting spirit was overflowing. Seeing the purple thunderbolts shooting toward him, his eyes shone with a bright light. Get lost! With a low shout, Jian Wushuang suddenly slashed out with his sword. The Heavenly Void Temple Master had thrust out 13 spears, But Jian Wushuang had only used one sword strike. However, it was this sword strike that swept through everything and destroyed the purple divine thunderbolts crazily. Finally, the crackling of the divine thunderbolts continued. The 13 bolts of purple divine thunder dissipated, and the heavenly void temple master's body trembled slightly in the void. Jian Wushuang was also sent flying by the impact of the 13 bolts of purple divine thunder. At this moment, a suffocating power suddenly came from the void above him. Jian Wushuang looked up and found that Elder Su had appeared in the void above him at some point in time. His body was suffused with endless golden divine power, and as he held the vast scarlet gold long staff with both hands, the giant golden long stick, which was already as big as a small mountain, suddenly expanded and turned into a giant pillar. Heaven-shaking stick, with a low roar, the enormous golden long stick smashed toward Jian Wushuang from the top down. Rumble! The world trembled. The world seemed unable to withstand the terrifying power contained in the long golden stick, and began to tremble crazily. The sword principal world formed by Jian Wushuang's mountain river map was also on the verge of collapse. Seeing the towering golden red long stick coming at him, Jian Wushuang's expression changed slightly. The supreme sword essence swept over his body. Under cover of the sword essence, the blood mountain sword in his hand seemed to have expanded in size. He also waved his sword and blocked the golden red long stick. Bang! The golden red long stick smashed into the blood mountain sword. The terrifying power contained in the long stick completely exploded. Heaven-shaking stick was the most decisive move that this old monster could use. Moreover, this move was purely a crushing force. The power was too strong. Jian Wushuang only felt a massive force on the blood mountain sword. In an instant, it was as if Mount Tai was pressing down on him. His body directly sank, as if he was about to fall to the ground. Moreover, he could not control his body when he fell. World Master Taichu, it's up to you, Elder Su growled. The Heaven Void Temple Master also looked at Realm Lord Tianchu. Whether it was the 13 slaughtering spears of the Heavenly Void Temple Master, or Elder Su's Heaven Exploding Cudgel, the purpose of their most potent moves was to sweep away the obstacles and create an opportunity for Realm Lord Tianchu's most powerful move. Now that the opportunity had been formed, Jian Wushuang's body was on the way down. He had almost no ability to react, and Realm Lord Tianchu's killer move was ready. Jianyi, die with my son! A roar suddenly echoed in the world. Realm Lord Tianchu's body was full of killing intent. As his roar fell, endless and pure black divine power surged out. This black divine power resulted from Realm Lord Tianchu combining his divine power with the destructive rule power he had comprehended. At this moment, the black divine power gathered crazily, and in the blink of an eye, it had formed a giant black beast that was 30,000 meters tall. The giant black beast did not have a body, but only a bloody mouth that seemed to devour the world. Under the guidance of Realm Lord Tianchu, the bloody mouth had already swallowed Jian Wushuang, and in the blink of an eye, Jian Wushuang was destroyed. Destruction crushing plate. Realm Lord Tianchu's eyes shone with a bright light. The destructive power of the bloody mouth was completely unleashed. Heavenly Void Temple Master and Elder Su stood in the void around the giant black beast. Their eyes flashed with a strange light as they looked at the big black beast in front of them. Jian Wushuang was in the mouth of the giant black beast. No one knew what had happened inside. Heavenly Void Temple Master and Elder Su could not see it. They could only hear the laughter of divine power coming from the bloody mouth. However, both the Master of Heavenly Void Temple and Elder Su had absolute confidence in the move of the Realm Lord. This move was the most decisive move of the Realm Lord, and he did not create it. Instead, it was a powerful secret skill that he had obtained by chance many years ago. The Realm Lord had once used this personal skill in front of everyone. It was the same scene. However, the Black Beast had swallowed a genuine immortal saint. As a result, the immortal saint was swallowed by the Black Beast and never came out. In other words, Realm Lord Tianchu had used this move to kill an immortal saint in front of others. Jian Wushuang was only a divine master, so they did not think he could survive the Black Beast. The voice of the Black Beast finally calmed down. Then, The black beast turned into a large amount of black divine power and slowly dissipated in the world. When all the news was released and the void was revealed again, there was no human figure. Chapter 2887. The window paper was broken. There was no human figure in the empty shadow. What was left was a divine sword, a piece of armor, and an interspatial ring. The divine sword was naturally the Blood Mountain sword. The armor was the gold-colored battle record. The interspatial ring, of course, was Jian Wushuang's interspatial ring. Seeing this, Realm Lord Tian Chu, Heavenly Void Temple Master, and Elder Su all smiled. The countless cultivators watching the battle in the market sighed secretly. He's dead. Although he showed shocking techniques, he still died in the end. There's no other way. No matter what, he's only a divine master. It's incredible that he can do this. After all, there were 3 immortal saints who surrounded and killed him. Moreover, these 3 immortal saints have clearly used their strongest techniques without holding back. Although he is dead, Jianyi is still famous in the Golden Crow 9 realms. Many cultivators were talking about Jian Wushuang, but all of them had high respect for him. They admired him for his strength. But at this moment, no. A peak great divine master in the market suddenly frowned and said, Jianyi is dead. But why didn't he put away the treasure that could change the world? Why did it always exist? The doubts of this peak great divine master were soon noticed by everyone. Not only them, on the battlefield, Realm Lord Tian Chu, Temple Master Tian Su, and Elder Su also frowned slightly. They also noticed it. Above them, the lifelike scroll world was still there. The huge sword tomb and the sword principal world were still surrounding them. Even the domain that had been released from Jian Wushuang's body was still suppressing them. However, it was Jian Wushuang who had used all these techniques. If Jian Wushuang really died, then his techniques would stop immediately without anyone controlling them. But now, could it be? Elder Su's pupils suddenly shrank. In the next moment, they saw endless divine power began to condense crazily beside the Blood Mountain sword in the empty void. The divine power was too vast and boundless. It made the 3 immortal saints, World Master Tian Chu, Heavenly Void Temple Master, and Elder Su feel inferior. As the divine power gathered crazily, a figure slowly formed in the blink of an eye. This figure was Jian Wushuang. Divine power recombination? World Master Tian Chu, Heavenly Void Temple Master, and Elder Su, the 3 immortal saints, instantly widened their eyes, and their scalps seemed to be about to explode. As immortal saints, they knew what was happening. It was because they knew that they were shocked, and did not dare to believe it. The countless cultivators in the market were also completely stunned. Countless eyes looking at Jian Wushuang became empty and incredulous. The entire world fell silent at this moment. Dead silence. After a long time, the experienced expert at the peak of the Divine Master realm in the market was the first to speak. Immortal, this is the immortal body. As the words immortal body rang out, the whole world was in an uproar. Realm Lord Tian Chu, Heavenly Void Temple Master, and Elder Su were also completely stunned. Immortal body. Indeed, Jian Wushuang's divine body had been completely destroyed by Realm Lord Tian Chu's most powerful killing move. Under normal circumstances, he should have been dead. However, Jian Wushuang's divine body had been restored. It was restored. It was an immortal body that only immortal saints possessed. Most importantly, not all immortal saints possessed an immortal body. Realm Lord Tian Chu, Heavenly Void Temple Master, and Elder Su did not have an immortal body. They had not reached the level of forming an immortal body. Not to mention the 3 of them. In the entire Golden Crow 9 realms, there was only one known immortal saint who had an undying body, and that was the Supreme Lord Bone Emperor. Other than the Bone Emperor, the 3 of them had never heard of anyone possessing an immortal body. The ability of this immortal body made the 3 of them extremely envious. But now, the power that the 3 of them had never mastered was used by a divine master. How was this possible? How could the 3 of them not be shocked? It's the first time I've heard that a divine master has an immortal body, Elder Su said in shock. My God, what kind of monster are we going to kill? Not only is a divine master so powerful, But he also has an immortal body. Heavenly Void Palace Master was also stunned. As for Realm Master Tianqiu, his face was extremely pale. They knew that Jian Wushuang had an immortal body, but they knew how terrifying it was. It was obviously impossible for them to kill Jian Wushuang with an immortal body. The world was shocked. Everyone was shocked by Jian Wushuang's immortal body. However, while everyone was in shock, no one noticed that Jian Wushuang, whose divine body had reformed, did not open his eyes immediately. Instead, he continued to close his eyes, and there was a hint of surprise at the corner of his mouth. Yes, it was a surprise. When he was in the market, he knew that his comprehension of sword principle had reached a bottleneck. He was only one step away from that bottleneck. He hoped that someone could help him break through this bottleneck, so he was eager to fight. He knew that Realm Lord Tianqiu would certainly be prepared to deal with him, but he did not hesitate to leave the market to face Realm Lord Tianqiu head-on. Even when he learned that the Realm Lord and the other 3 immortal saints had joined forces, he was not afraid at all. He did not have the slightest intention of retreating. Instead, he used all his strength to fight against the 3 immortal saints. What was his goal? His goal was that layer of window paper. And now, the 3 immortal saints were all using their strongest techniques, especially the Realm Lord's strongest technique. It directly shattered his layers of defense, crushing his divine body. He then relied on his divine power to condense his divine body. He was born from death. His window was finally broken. Sword Principle. Jian Wushuang was extremely excited. At this moment, in the sword world that was opened up in his body for 100,000 miles. This vast sword world was originally a desolate place without any substance or life. However, at this moment, in the center of the sword world, a sapling had already taken root and sprouted. Chapter 2888. Breakthrough, Second Level of Sword Principle. The sword principle was profound and unfathomable. The sword world was only the first level of sword principle, which created a lonely world. The second level of sword principle, the boundless sword tree, was the first living creature born in the sword principle world. Now the tiny sapling that had taken root and sprouted in Jian Wushuang's world of sword principle was the boundless sword tree. At first, the boundless sword skill was just a sapling, but soon, the sapling began to grow at a fantastic speed. In the blink of an eye, the sapling had turned into a small tree, and gradually grew toward the towering tree. Then, all kinds of forks appeared on the main trunk, and many branches grew out. In just a moment, a towering tree had appeared in Jian Wushuang's sword world. And the tree was still growing crazily. The speed of its growth was too astonishing. The speed of the trunk extending and covering was too fast and too dense. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes, but he could see the changes in the sword world. He could see that the big tree in the center of the sword world was growing crazily, becoming abnormally thick and tall from an ordinary tree. The height of the tree was also increasing. 30 meters, 300 meters, 300 meters. In an instant, the tree had grown to a height of 30,000 meters, and it was still growing crazily. 15,000 meters, 20,000 meters. After a moment, the boundless sword tree finally stopped. At this moment, the boundless sword tree was already 33,000 meters tall. The towering tree was 33,000 feet tall, and its branches alone were enough to form a vast and boundless forest. However, this was only because of the tree in the center. 33,000 meters. Jian Wushuang felt that the tree had finally grown to its level, and his heart was extremely shocked. He had once obtained the sword principle insight left behind by a mighty immortal saint. The immortal saint had earlier said that after an ordinary sword principle cultivator reached the second realm of sword principle insight, the boundless sword tree formed in his sword Dao world was only a few hundred feet tall at the beginning. Those who could reach over 1,000 feet were already considered extremely talented in sword Dao, and 33,000 meters was already considered an endpoint in the eyes of the immortal saint. One had to know that many experts who were proficient in sword Dao, including the immortal saint, were able to grow their boundless sword tree to 33,000 meters tall as their sword Dao comprehension continued to increase. Those who were more talented were able to grow to 66,000 meters tall. Some extremely powerful sword Dao geniuses were said to grow to a height of 99,000 meters. However, such geniuses were already extremely rare. It was said that within the vast third heaven, the immeasurable sword tree of a sword Dao genius could grow to a height of 30,000 meters. However, that was only a rumor. Whether it was true or not, the immortal saint who had left behind his insights did not know. However, it also showed that the boundless sword tree was 33,000 meters tall, which was the limit that many ordinary sword principle cultivators could reach. But what about Jian Wushuang? His boundless sword tree had just taken shape, but it had already reached 33,000 feet tall. But it must be known that he still had infinite room for improvement at this level in the future. The news that the boundless sword tree was 33,000 feet tall in a row would shock the world if it were spread out. The taller and tougher the boundless sword tree was, the more powerful its swordsmanship would be. In the divine beginning world, the immortal saints who were good at sword principle distinguished the comprehension of sword principle from the height of the boundless sword tree. Jian Wushuang's boundless sword tree was now 33,000 meters tall. This meant that even though his comprehension of sword principle was not as good as those top immortal saints, the power of his swordsmanship was not weaker than those immortal saints who had developed the boundless sword tree to its limit and stood at the top, was not weaker than those immortal saints. The latter had derived the boundless sword tree to its limit and stood at the top. This was simply incredible. Buzz buzz buzz. Jian Wushuang's sword world finally calmed down, and he finally opened his eyes. The surprise on his face grew stronger and stronger. The second level of sword principle boundless sword tree is finally here. My boundless sword tree is 33,000 feet tall once it forms a line. This alone is enough to increase the power of my swordsmanship by many times. I wonder how powerful my swordsmanship will be now. Jian Wushuang muttered to himself with a hint of expectation in his heart. He waved his hand slightly, and the Blood Mountain sword, which had been floating quietly beside him, immediately flew toward him. Jian Wushuang held the Blood Mountain sword again, and put on the golden armor, so he kept the interspatial ring. When he held the Blood Mountain sword, Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up because he felt that the level of the Blood Mountain sword had increased again. Initially, the Blood Mountain sword was only a top-grade third-grade holy treasure, even if it had been merged with his blood essence. It was more terrifying than many second-grade holy treasures because of its sharp edge. However, with his breakthrough in sword principle, the power of the Blood Mountain sword, which was his natal armor, had also increased. So now it was also a second-grade holy treasure. This was a big surprise for Jian Wushuang. The power of the Blood Mountain sword has increased, but the supreme sword essence in the sword has not changed. Previously, with my cultivation in sword principle, the sword essence that I tried my best to guide was less than 1,000th of this supreme sword essence. But now, let's try it. Jian Wushuang immediately began to guide it. The sword essence in the Blood Mountain sword needed the guidance of Jian Wushuang's sword principle. The higher his comprehension of the sword principle, the more sword essence he could guide. Previously he could guide less than 1,000th of Jian with all his strength. But now, buzz buzz. A shrill sword hum sounded out of thin air. The supreme and awe-inspiring sword essence that had been filling the surrounding area suddenly became more than 10 times stronger. Yes, it was dozens of times more vital. 1%. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining. He had sensed that the sword essence he guided with all his strength was precisely 1% of the supreme sword essence. Do not underestimate this 1% of sword essence. Previously, it was only 1,000th, but it had increased Jian Wushuang's overall strength by more than 10 times. But now, thanks to you three, my cultivation of sword principle has greatly increased. Today, I can use the blood of you three immortal saints to sacrifice my sword. Jian Wushuang sneered, but his figure had already rushed out. A murderous intent instantly burst out under the background of the supreme sword essence. Realm Lord Tian Chu, Heavenly Void Temple Master, and Elder Su all looked highly solemn. Be careful. I feel that this brat is even more terrifying than before. Heavenly Void Palace Master said. Chapter 2889. Instant kill. Realm Lord Tianchu and Elder Su's expressions were also extremely solemn. Jian Wushuang's figure had already appeared in front of Realm Lord Tianchu. Then he drew his sword. Jian Wushuang did not display any shocking swordsmanship. He just casually swung his sword. However, when he brandished his Blood Mountain sword, the power of the boundless sword tree, which was 33,000 meters tall, had already reached its peak. The supreme sword essence within the Blood Mountain sword also unscrupulously exploded. Wung, this sword's intent was supreme. The instant it swept out, the expressions of the three immortal saints changed. After that, a majestic sword light was born. This sword light was incomparably tyrannical and huge. It blotted out the sky and covered half of the void. Chi, the sound of the space being forcefully compressed rang out continuously. The moment this boundless sword light appeared, Realm Lord Tianchu, Elder Su, and Heavenly Void Palace Lord were all stunned. This sword! Realm Lord Tianchu stared fixedly at this boundless sword light, because this boundless sword light was heading towards him. How can it be so strong? Elder Su and Heavenly Void Palace Lord were both shocked. They initially wanted to help Realm Lord Tianchu block this sword light, but when the sword light actually slashed out, they were both completely stunned. Only Tianchu was left, instantly unleashing his strength to the limit. Rumble! A large amount of black divine power crazily gushed out. Tianchu's face flushed red, his eyes flashing with an unprecedented madness. That boundless black divine power, once again condensed into a huge black beast. Block it, we must block it! Tianchu roared in his heart. Boundless sword light swept over. In an instant, the black beast was annihilated like a dried twig. After that, the boundless sword light completely engulfed Realm Lord Tianchu's entire body. Realm Lord Tianchu did not even have the chance to scream before he was crushed into pieces by the power of the sword light. And after the sword light annihilated Realm Lord Tianchu, it still took a long time before it completely dissipated. Dead. Elder Su and the Heavenly Void Temple Master stared with wide eyes. Realm Lord Tianchu was the strongest immortal saint among the three of them. But now, the strongest Realm Lord Tianchu was killed by Jian Wushuang with just one strike? What kind of strength was this? While they were in shock, Jian Wushuang's cold eyes looked at them again in the void. Sensing Jian Wushuang's gaze, the two immortal saints, who were well known in the Golden Crow 9 realms, were frightened out of their wits. Run! Without any hesitation, Elder Su and the Heavenly Void Temple Master immediately turned and fled. At the moment they fled, they had already used their fastest speed in their lives, desperately trying to escape from Jian Wushuang's sight. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold, and his killing intent surged. The two immortal saints fled at the same time. They were originally in two directions. Now that they had split up, he could only leave one person behind. He immediately locked onto this person. It was Elder Su of the Point Star Pavilion. The reason why they locked onto him was that Elder Su had attacked him without any reason. For example, there was a reason why Realm Lord Tianchu and Temple Master Tian Su wanted to kill him. Jian Wushuang could understand that, so his killing intent was not very strong. However, Elder Su, he had no enmity with the Star Point Pavilion, so it was natural for Jian Wushuang to be angry that Elder Su had come to kill him out of the blue. As for whether or not he would offend the Star Point Pavilion after killing him, he did not care. Moreover, Elder Su was indeed closer to him. Jian Wushuang made his move. With a thought, a terrifying sword essence suddenly burst out. Together with the domain that had always existed in the surrounding void, it crazily pressed toward Elder Su. At the same time, Jian Wushuang slowly raised his palm. He pointed in the direction of Elder Su from a distance. Heaven-determining skill. Because Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the space-time rules had not reached the level of the Immortal Saint, this move would not affect the Immortal Saint too much. However, no matter how small the effect was, it would still be able to slightly hinder Elder Su. Taking advantage of this small obstacle, Jian Wushuang moved forward. Whoosh! The same sword light descended. It was still as majestic and earth-shaking as before. The sword light blotted out the sky and the sun, completely drowning Elder Su. No! Elder Su was so angry that his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He desperately tried to use his strongest technique in an attempt to block Jian Wushuang's sword. However, his swordsmanship, which had reached the second level of sword principle, the boundless sword tree, was much more powerful than before. Even the Realm Lord Tian Chu could not block his sword, so Elder Su certainly could not resist it. The only thing he could hope for was that he was still wearing a sacred treasure-level protective armor. Although the power of this armor was not too strong, and was only at the 3rd grade, it was still his life-saving method. However, when the sword light truly descended, a crack appeared in the center of the sacred treasure-level armor. The entire armor was on the verge of collapsing. How could this be? Elder Su was in disbelief. However, his life force was immediately cut off. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the middle of the void, everything calmed down. Jian Wushuang was the only one still standing in the void. As for the 3 immortal saints who had surrounded him, Realm Lord Tian Chu and Elder Su had been killed, and their divine bodies had been destroyed. Only the Palace Master of Void Temple had luckily escaped. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and put the things left behind by the immortal saints into his interspatial ring. Then he stood there, his eyes shining brightly. The boundless sword tree, which is 3,300 meters tall, did not disappoint me. It improved the power of my swordsmanship so much, and the supreme sword essence that I can guide it is even stronger. The immortal saints, including the Realm Lord and the Elder from the Starpoint Pavilion, are both very strong, but they can't even take one strike from me. Jian Wushuang held the longsword tightly in his hand. He was also very excited. Before the start of the battle, he had wanted to make a breakthrough. As for how strong he would be after the breakthrough, he did not think too much about it. But now, he did not expect that his strength would increase so much once he made a breakthrough. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang looked around and saw that there were countless cultivators who had fallen into a daze in the market not far away. With a faint smile, Jian Wushuang left directly. Chapter 2890, World Shock. 1. Jian Wushuang had left, and the battle had come to an end. The cultivators in the market who had witnessed the battle from beginning to end were completely stunned. They were all shocked, or rather frightened. A reverent god fought against 3 immortal saints at the same time. In the end, Realm Lord Tian Chu and Elder Su were killed on the spot, and the Heavenly Void Palace Master fled in panic. A reverent god killed the immortal saint easily? This reverent god is called Jian. These cultivators murmured. In less than an hour, this news swept across the entire Golden Crow 9 realms like a huge storm. For a time, countless cultivators in the entire Golden Crow 9 realms, including the top immortal saints, were shocked. Shocked. Yes, the entire Golden Crow 9 realms was completely shocked. Starpoint Sacred City was also one of the 4 great holy cities of the Golden Crow 9 realms. Starpoint Sacred City was completely under the control of Starpoint Pavilion. Starpoint Pavilion was publicly acknowledged as the #1 chamber of commerce in the Golden Crow 9 realms. Its foundation among the 4 pavilions was not inferior to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, and its strength was abnormally tyrannical. At this moment, in the deepest part of the Starpoint Pavilion's lair, 2 figures were sitting upright in a pavilion. Their expressions were extremely unsightly. Among these 2 people, one of them was a white-haired old man who wore gray clothes and looked extremely plain. This white-haired old man was the Elder Meng, who had personally gone to the Pil Sun Sacred World and participated in the auction of the Mountain River map. As for the other person, he was a long-browed elder with a thin and frail body. This long-browed elder was the biggest reliance of the Starpoint Pavilion, an extremely terrifying immortal saint. Su Zhen is dead, and he was killed by a divine master on the spot? When they first received the news, the long-browed elder and Elder Meng both felt incredulous. If they had not asked him personally and obtained the mirror image of the battle, they would never have believed it when they saw Elder Su being killed by Jian Wushuang. This divine master is very terrifying. Elder Meng could not help exclaiming. I have lived for so many years, not only in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow, but also in the surrounding great territories. I have seen countless divine masters, but I have never seen such a powerful divine master. I'm afraid that even in the vast third heaven, there are not many divine masters like him. It is very heaven-defying. The long-browed old man had to admit. His own strength is very impressive. The treasures he has in his hands, and the secret techniques he uses, are also very impressive. For example, the divine sword in his hands, and the treasures he has thrown into the void, which can change the world, are all extraordinary items. In addition, Jianyi is clearly only a supreme divinity, but he has an undying body. It's simply inconceivable. Unbelievable. This is the evaluation of Jian Wushuang, made by the long-browed elder and Elder Meng. Long brows, the absolute beginning divine realm is vast and boundless. There are countless kinds of geniuses, and some of them are even heaven-defying monsters. And now we've encountered a monster that killed Su Zhen. What should we do now? Elder Ming frowned. In the 9 realms of the Golden Crow, the immortal saints were the pillars of support. Even among the 4 pavilions, there were only a few immortal saints who stayed in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. Each loss was a great loss to any one of the 4 pavilions. This time, the death of Elder Su made the Star Point Pavilion's heartache to death. However, no matter how much it hurt, the Star Point Pavilion still faced a difficult problem. That was whether or not they should take revenge for Elder Su. After all, the person who killed Elder Su was a monster. There's no other way. That long-browed old man slowly shook his head. Su Zhen's death has dealt a huge blow to our Point Star Pavilion. However, that sword one is too terrifying. However, from the mirror image, his strength has already completely surpassed that of an ordinary immortal saint. Even with the strength of Realm Lord Tianqiu, he is unable to take his sword head-on. His strength has already surpassed mine. In the entire Golden Crow 9 realms, there are only 2 people who can defeat him. 2. Elder Ming's expression changed, and he asked doubtfully, other than Lord Bone Emperor, who else can defeat him? The one from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, said the long-browed elder. You mean? Elder Ming frowned. Hasn't that person's strength always been about the same as yours? No, it might have been about the same in the past, but I saw him 1,000 years ago. Although we didn't exchange blows, I could already sense that he had already taken that step, and he had already mastered the immortal body. His strength is already far above mine. If he makes a move, he should be able to fight this Jianyi head-on, and his chances of winning should be quite high. The long-browed elder spoke in a deep voice, but suddenly, he changed the topic. However, even if that person from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, or even the Bone Emperor, personally makes a move, he might be able to defeat Jianyi head-on. However, it is impossible to kill Jianyi. Since Sword 1 has an immortal body, it is almost impossible to find someone who can kill him in the Golden Crow 9 realms. The Bone Emperor is also unable to kill a divine master who has an immortal body and is so powerful. Moreover, there are no immortal saints who specialize in soul attacks in the Golden Crow 9 realms. It is true that no one can kill him. Hearing this, Elder Ming nodded slightly. Since our Star Point Pavilion has no way of killing him, our Star Point Pavilion has no choice but to endure this hatred. The long-browed elder sighed. Give the order to say that Su Zhen's death was a treasure in the hands of his greedy sword. Now that he has been killed by Jianyi, it is his own fault. It has nothing to do with our Star Point Pavilion. From now on, no one in our Star Point Pavilion is allowed to speak of taking revenge on Jianyi. Anyone who disobeys will be expelled from the Star Point Pavilion. Elder Ming frowned slightly. His emotions were a bit complicated, but he still nodded after a long while. He knew that the long-browed elder chose to endure patiently because he wanted the enmity between the Star Point Pavilion and Jianyi to be put to an end, so that both sides would not continue to carry on. Although this was somewhat aggrieved, it was also the wisest and most helpless choice. After all, he was a divine master who could not be killed by the Star Point Pavilion at all, but who was extremely powerful and could easily kill saints. If he really wanted to fight with the Star Point Pavilion, it would definitely be a disaster for the Star Point Pavilion. There is one more thing. From today onwards, I will also be in closed-door cultivation, I will only come out when I have truly taken that step, and am able to stand shoulder to shoulder with that person from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. As for the matters in the Star Point Pavilion, I will leave them to you, said the long-browed elder. Elder Ming responded and left immediately. Chapter 2891, World Shock 2. In the huge volcanic space in the deepest part of Fire Cloud Castle, Bai Yin stood there respectfully. In front of him, Mo Tao was attentively looking at a mirror image. This mirror image was the scene where Jian Wushuang fought with the three immortal saints. It was clear from the beginning to the end. Haha, awesome. After Mo Tao finished watching the scene, he laughed out loud. A divine master killed two of the three immortal saints and scared one away. This Jian is amazing. Mo Tao's eyes were shining. He was also an immortal saint, but his battle strength was equal to Realm Lord Tian Chu. However, Jian Wushuang had killed Realm Lord Tian Chu with one strike at the later stage of the mirror image. He was shocked by his strength. If Jian Wushuang was so powerful, how could Bai Yin be so powerful? Bai Yin also saw the mirror image and was terrified. Now he finally understood why Jian Wushuang could address his master as Brother Mo. Jian is very talented and has unfathomable strength and means. The magic sword is not lost in his hands. Mo Tao smiled and immediately sent a message to Jian Wushuang to congratulate him on his Golden Crow 9 world fame. Jian Wushuang also quickly replied, Crimson Rock Castle, Pill Sun Sacred World. Many great divine masters of Crimson Rock Castle stood respectfully in front of a huge secret chamber. At this moment, the door of the secret chamber slowly opened. Have you come out? Yin Shan immediately looked up. A beautiful figure slowly walked out of the secret chamber. As soon as this figure appeared, an aura that caused everyone present to be shocked and overwhelmed spread out. This aura was the aura of an immortal saint, and the person who emitted this aura was none other than the Fort Master of Crimson Rock Fort Yin Sewer. Congratulations, Fort Master, for breaking through to the immortal saint realm. Congratulations, Fort Master, for breaking through to the immortal saint realm. The voices were loud and clear, reverberating throughout the entire world. One could see that these great divine masters were all extremely excited. This was also very normal. Ever since Crimson Rock Saint died hundreds of thousands of years ago, there had not been another immortal saint in the Pill Sun Sacred World. The reason why the Pill Sun Sacred World had been constantly in the civil war over the past few years was that their strength had been significantly weakened. It was because they lacked an absolute expert that could make all the forces submit to them. And now, the Pill Sun Sacred World had once again listened to Crimson Rock Castle's orders. At this juncture, Yin Sewer had broken through to become an immortal saint. It could be said that she was justified. In the future, the Pill Sun Sacred World would have an immortal saint personally presiding over it. Castle Lord Yin Shan, Palace Master Xizhen, and the others immediately rushed over to Yin Sewer. After breaking through to become an immortal saint, Yin Sewer was obviously quite informed. Uncle Yin Shan, during the time I was in seclusion, did anything happen in the Pill Sun Sacred World? No. Yin Shan shook his head. During this period of time, the Pill Sun Sacred World has been peaceful, and the Heavenly Void World hasn't made any movements. As for the Sword Alliance, because of Mr. Jian Yi's restrictions, they have been quite quiet. That's good. Yin Sewer nodded slowly. Oh right, Castle Lord. A few days ago, a major incident happened in the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City. Yin Shan suddenly spoke. What major incident? Yin Sewer looked over. It's like this. Yin Shan immediately recounted the entire incident. After hearing this, Yin Sewer was like a statue, completely stunned. She was stunned for a long time before she slowly regained her senses. You mean Jian Yi? He faced the joint attack of three immortal saints, yet he managed to kill Realm Lord Tian Chu and Elder Su from the Star Point Pavilion, while he managed to escape unscathed? Yin Sewer was clearly in disbelief. Yes, not only that, his current fame in the Golden Crow 9 realms is shocking. There are even people who say that he is from the Golden Crow 9 realms. But other than the Supreme Lord Bone Emperor, the strongest person is also the most heaven-defying divine master in the history of the Golden Crow 9 realms. Yunshan said. No wonder he doesn't care about the sacred elixirs at all. A bitter smile appeared on Yin Suer's face. I thought that after I broke through to the immortal saint realm, I could finally look down on him and talk to him as an equal. I didn't expect that even though I broke through, the gap between him and me was still enormous. Jianyi, you are a monster. The 9 realms of the Golden Crow, the Bone Emperor realm, occupied nearly half of the territory. This was a vast and desolate land. Yet, in the center of this land stood a towering castle. This castle was incomparably huge, and its surface was surrounded by a large amount of green divine power. Within the castle, corpses and bones were strewn all over the ground. Many ghastly white bones, human skulls, and bones were scattered all over the ground. In the very center of the castle, there was an enormous high platform that was completely covered by skulls. On the high platform, there was a throne that was similarly made of white bones. On the throne, a skinny older man with an incomparably short stature casually sat there. This older man looked extremely weak, and when the wind blew, all the bones in his body seemed to fall apart. The aura on his body was also ordinary, and he was no different from an average person. However, it was precisely this weak older man was the indisputable overlord of the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. He was the Bone Emperor. At this moment, in the void in front of the Bone Emperor, there was also a picture of a battle going on. Looking at the scene in the picture, a wicked smile appeared on the Bone Emperor's face. Especially when Jian Wushuang killed Realm Lord Tian Chu with one sword strike, the Bone Emperor's eyes slowly narrowed. In terms of power, this sword strike is not much weaker than mine. Of course, a mere divine master can have such battle strength, and he has an immortal body. Thanks, interesting, very interesting. The Bone Emperor smiled sinisterly, but he was already interested in Jian Wushuang. I have dominated the 9 worlds of the Golden Crow for many years, but it has been a long time since I encountered such an interesting thing. This man named Jian, he may not be as strong as me, but with his talent, he will break through to become an immortal saint in the future. Once he breaks through, his battle strength will only be stronger than mine. I want to meet such a person. Go find him, and invite him to my Bone Emperor realm. Tell him that I have something to discuss with him, the Bone Emperor said. There was not a single person in front of the Bone Emperor. His words seemed to be spoken to the air. However, at the end of the castle, a figure had already set off. Chapter 2892. Farewell to Chu Shi. The battle between Jian Wushuang and the 3 immortal saints was shocking. Countless experts from all the forces in the Golden Crow 9 realms were spreading the news. In less than a few days, Jian Wushuang's name had spread to every corner of the Golden Crow 9 realms. Many people outside of the Golden Crow 9 realms had heard about it, and they were all shocked. Monster, the #1 divine master in the history of the Golden Crow 9 realms. All the titles fell on Jian Wushuang's head, while the entire Golden Crow 9 realms was shocked by Jian Wushuang. As the main character, he had already arrived at a city outside the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's base. This city was not far from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's mountain gate. Usually genius disciples or experts of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion would pass by here. Jian Wushuang was sitting quietly in a tavern, drinking quietly. On the surface he was drinking, but in his heart, Jian Wushuang was thinking. Of course, he was thinking about how to get close to Lung Rushuang. In addition, before seeing Lung Rushuang again, Jian Wushuang still had some things to figure out. Jian Wushuang had been in the tavern for 3 days. He had concealed his aura, and even disguised his appearance, so no one noticed him. But now, he had noticed 3 people walking out of the tavern. They had just walked out of a shop. They were all great divine masters, led by a purple-haired handsome youth. The purple-haired handsome youth had the most powerful aura, which had reached the level of a peak great divine master. Jian Wushuang also knew this person. That's him. Jian Wushuang grinned. When he saw the purple-haired handsome youth, and the other 2 fly out of the city, to return to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, he immediately chased after them. In the void, the three purple-haired handsome young men were flying, and they were about to reach the mountain gate of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. But at this time, whoosh, without any warning, a figure appeared in front of them out of thin air. As soon as it appeared, a huge divine power that suffocated the three of them came over. Is this the immortal saint? The purple-haired handsome young man, and the other two were shocked. The strength of divine power was determined by the level of divine power. Jian Wushuang's current divine power level had indeed far exceeded that of an ordinary divine master, so it was naturally the same for divine power. It's you. The purple-haired handsome young man recognized Jian Wushuang at once, and the corners of his mouth could not help trembling. Oh, brother Chu Shi, do you still remember me? In that case, do you remember the battle with me? I'm here to meet you. Jian Wushuang smiled playfully. This purple-haired handsome young man was Chu Shi. When he opened the Dragon Phoenix list in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, Chu Shi had challenged him to a battle in order to vent his anger on Demoness Gu. However, that battle did not really take place. Upon hearing Jian Wushuang's words, Chu Shi could not help trembling. A duel with Jian Wushuang? After all, it had been many days since Jian Wushuang had fought with the three immortal saints. He was one of the genius disciples of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, and had reached the level of a peak great divine master. He had also heard of such a thing. He knew that Jian Wushuang could easily kill the immortal saint. Even the two immortal saint elders in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion would feel immense pressure when facing Jian Wushuang. Asking him to fight with Jian Wushuang? Was that not courting death? Senior brother Chu Shi, do you know this person? The two disciples next to him asked because they did not know what had happened, nor did they know Jian Wushuang's background. Shut up, Chu Shi shouted directly. Then he looked at Jian Wushuang again, and forced a smile on his face. Sir Jian, you must be joking. I was blind to offend you before, sir. I hope you can forgive me. Jian. The two disciples of Dragon Phoenix Pavilion were also shocked. They looked at Jian Wushuang with shock and fear. Chu Shi was also terrified. He thought that Jian Wushuang really came for the battle, so he immediately begged for mercy. However, he was careful. He quietly took out a message token, and was ready to ask the experts of Dragon Phoenix Pavilion for help. After all, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's nest was nearby. As soon as he sent the message, the immortal saint of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion would immediately come to his rescue. However, how could he hide his thoughts from Jian Wushuang? Chu Shi, I advise you not to play any tricks. Otherwise, I won't be polite, Jian Wushuang said with a wicked smile. Chu Shi's hands trembled, and his face was extremely embarrassed. As for the communication, it naturally failed. Don't worry, I'm not here to find trouble with you, nor for the duel. I just have some questions to ask you. I hope you can answer them truthfully, Jian Wushuang said. If you have any questions, please ask me. I'll tell you everything, Chu Shi said. My question is very simple. It's about your Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's young phoenix. I want you to tell me everything you know, Jian Wushuang said directly. Young phoenix? Junior sister Lung? Chu Shi's expression changed, and he immediately understood. When the Dragon Phoenix list was released, Jian had come into contact with the young phoenix. At that time, everyone could see that Jian Wushuang and the young phoenix seemed to have a special relationship. It was normal for Jian to ask about the young phoenix now. Facing Jian Wushuang, Chu Shi knew Jian Wushuang's fierce reputation and strength, so he did not dare to hide anything. He immediately told him everything he knew about the young phoenix. Jian Wushuang frowned when he heard this. What Chu Shi said was not very different from what was spread in the outside world. What he said was also what he already knew. It was meaningless. Chu Shi, do you really want to die? Jian Wushuang's face darkened. Do you think I won't dare to kill you because you are a genius disciple of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion? No. Chu Shi shook his head immediately. Master Jian, I've told you everything I know. If you don't believe me, you can ask my two junior brothers. They must know the same thing. Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. Chu Shi did not look like he was lying. Master Jian, in fact, we don't know much about junior sister Lung. Junior sister Lung has always been a recluse, and has almost never interacted with us. Junior sister Lung has been in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion for so many years, but she only spoke to me twice, and it was the simplest 2 sentences. In addition, some of Junior sister Lung's matters are also considered top secret in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Only her master, Elder Qin, and the other immortal saint elders of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion know about these things. Disciples like us really don't know anything, Wuxia said. Chapter 2893. Transfer. Hearing Wuxia's words, Jian Wushuang's frown deepened. He knew that Lung Rushuang was a loner. In his previous life, Lung Rushuang was such a loner. However, Jian Wushuang did not expect that some things about Lung Rushuang were so secret in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion that even genius disciples like Wuxia were not qualified to know about it. Only the top immortal saints knew about it. I wanted to find out about Shuang-Er's background and her high talent from Wuxia. Besides, Shuang-Er is only a divine master, but she is ranked 3rd on the Dragon Phoenix list. There must be some important secrets. But now, it seems that I have to find the immortal saint from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Jian Wushuang pondered. There were a total of 3 known immortal saints in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. These 3 should know about it. However, some of Lung Rushuang's matters were kept a secret within the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Even if he went to inquire about it, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion would most likely not tell him, unless he had the ability to make the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion bow to him, such as reaching the level of the Bone Emperor. But now, although he had killed 2 immortal saints in the previous battle, and his battle strength was terrifying enough to make the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion take him seriously and not dare to underestimate him, he still could not make the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion bow to him. Forget it. I can only think of a way to deal with the matter of Shuang-Er after I become stronger, Jian Wushuang thought. He had made up his mind that he would visit Lung Rushuang when he was stronger. By then, he would know everything about Lung Rushuang's life, even in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. You can go. Jian Wushuang turned around and left. After Jian Wushuang left, Wuxia and the other 2 finally let out a sigh of relief. Wuxia was especially worried that Jian Wushuang would kill him. After all, he had offended Jian Wushuang before. Senior brother Wuxia, was that really Jian, the monster who killed 2 immortal saints? A disciple from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion looked over. Who else could it be? Wuxia glanced at the disciple and then said seriously, "Let's go back. We have to report this to Elder Qin and the others." Wuxia and the other 2 immediately went back to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. After seeing Wuxia, Jian Wushuang held back his excitement. Instead of waiting outside the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, he went back to the Pill Sun Sacred World. This time, he came back to solve the awkward situation of the Sword Alliance in the Pill Sun Sacred World. After all, the Pill Sun Sacred World was now completely under the control of the Crimson Rock Castle. All the forces listened to the orders of the Crimson Rock Castle, but the Sword Alliance had always been very special. After all, the Sword Alliance was very powerful, and the key was the existence of the Alliance Master. The Crimson Rock Castle could not control the Sword Alliance at all. Even the experts in the Sword Alliance had always wanted to expand and replace the Crimson Rock Castle. They were just suppressed by Jian Wushuang. However, this suppression could not last long. Therefore, Jian Wushuang had already planned for the Sword Alliance. The best way was to conquer a world and move the Sword Alliance completely to the Sacred World. Now the opportunity had come. In the lofty hall of the Sword Alliance, Jian Wushuang sat on the throne at the top. Xiao Tiexin stood beside him, and many experts of the Sword Alliance looked at Jian Wushuang with respect and worship. In the Sword Alliance, Jian Wushuang was God in heaven. There was no doubt about that. Jian Wushuang glanced at these experts and nodded slightly. He had not left the Pill Sun Sacred World for a long time. During this time, Xiao Tiexin clearly followed his orders and did not expand to the outside world. There were not many more experts in the Sword Alliance than before. "Everyone, I have called you here today for one thing." Jian Wushuang's voice reverberated throughout the hall. "I will give you 1 year to prepare. After 1 year, All the experts of the Sword Alliance will leave the Pil Sun sacred world with me. As soon as Jian Wushuang said this, the entire hall was in an uproar. Most people were baffled and did not know what Jian Wushuang meant. Young master, Xiao Tiexin also asked, are you going to take the entire Sword Alliance out of the Pil Sun sacred world? Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Where to? Xiao Tiexin asked again. To the Heaven Curve world, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Heaven Curve world? Many experts of the Sword Alliance still frowned. These experts were very weak. Only Elder Tong, Snake Elder, and Great Divine Master Zhu Exan were Great Divine Masters. The rest were only Divine Masters. Apart from Elder Tong, the rest of them had never ventured outside. They did not know much about the situation outside. To them, the Pil Sun sacred world was not small at all. They had already accumulated a certain amount of foundation here. Of course, they did not want to leave. Not to mention them, even Xiao Tiexin, Jian Wushuang's intimate maid, did not want to leave. Jian Wushuang naturally noticed the changes in the expressions of the people in front of him. He immediately lowered his voice. One mountain cannot accommodate two tigers. The Pil Sun sacred world already has the Crimson Rock Castle, so it cannot accommodate a Sword Alliance that is not weaker than Crimson Rock Castle, or even stronger. The Heaven Curve world is much larger than the Pil Sun sacred world, with more experts and a bigger platform. Most importantly, I have killed the world master of the Heaven Curve world. I will bring the corpse puppet army to Heaven Curve world immediately. With a wave of my hand, I can wipe out all the resistance forces and experts in the Heaven Curve world, so that the Sword Union can occupy the vast sacred world safely. This is the best result for the Sword Alliance. Of course, I know that you are all born in the Pil Sun sacred world, and your roots are here. You don't want to leave so easily, so I won't force you. In short, those who are willing to go with me will leave in a year. If not, I will give you a batch of resources and let you leave. But in a year, there will be no Sword Alliance in the Pil Sun sacred world. Jian Wushuang said firmly without any room for negotiation. He had made this decision long ago. His original purpose in founding the Sword Alliance was to help the Crimson Rock Castle regain control of the Pil Sun sacred world. He would never allow the Sword Alliance to threaten the status of the Crimson Rock Castle. Now that he had conquered a holy world for the Sword Alliance and completely transferred the Sword Alliance there, he had done his best as the Alliance Master. Hearing Jian Wushuang's words, many experts of the Sword Alliance were shocked. They all heard that Jian Wushuang had killed the Realm Lord of the Heaven Curve world with his own hands. A Realm Lord should be an immortal saint, right? Chapter 2894. Make way. The Alliance Master killed an immortal saint with his own hands? The experts of the Sword Alliance were shocked. After a short moment of shock, they began to ponder. They were hesitating whether to follow Jian Wushuang to the Heaven Curve world. Obviously, the Heaven Curve world was more vast than the Pil Sun sacred world, and the platform was also larger. The Sword Alliance could directly control everything there, which was very beneficial to every cultivator in the Sword Alliance. However, in that case, they had to leave the Pil Sun sacred world. Everyone was hesitating. Jian Wushuang did not have time to wait for them to make a decision. He glanced at Xiao Tiexin beside him and said, "Exan heir, you heard what I said. I'll leave the rest to you." "Yes." Xiao Tiexin nodded respectfully. Jian Wushuang disappeared from the hall. After leaving the Sword Alliance, Jian Wushuang immediately went to Crimson Rock Castle. In Crimson Rock Castle, Jian Wushuang met Yin Suer, who had broken through to become an immortal saint. "Castle Lord Yin, congratulations. You've finally reached the immortal saint level." Jian Wushuang smiled and said, "It's all thanks to you, Mr. Jianyi. Suer is very grateful for your help." Yin Suer said solemnly. She was telling the truth. There were two reasons why she was able to make the breakthrough. First, the crisis in Crimson Rock Castle had been resolved. The situation had been resolved, and her worry had completely disappeared. Second, it was because of the Saint Ascension Elixir. The crisis in Crimson Rock Castle had been resolved with Jian Wushuang's full help, and the Saint Ascension Elixir had been given to her directly by Jian Wushuang. Mr. Jianyi, I heard that you fought against 3 immortal saints alone in the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City. You even killed Realm Lord Tianchu and Elder Su on the spot. What an awe-inspiring and admirable skill you have. Insuer sighed softly. Well, let's not talk about formalities for now. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and said, I'm here today for one thing. Insuer immediately looked over. Realm Lord Tianchu is dead. Without the immortal saint in charge of the Tianchu world, it should be a mess now. I plan to take the corpse puppet army to sweep the obstacles in the Tianchu world, and then transfer the Sword Alliance there. Jian Wushuang said. Sweep the Tianchu world? Insuer was shocked. Tianchu world was a sacred world that was much bigger than the Pil Sun sacred world. It was so domineering to sweep the entire sacred world. However, Insuer also knew that Jian Wushuang did have such strength. Mr. Jianyi, with your current strength, it's easy for you to sweep the Tianchu world, but I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to transfer the Sword Alliance there, Insuer said. Why? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. Mr. Jianyi, the Sword Alliance is a big force after all. It has a big business and many cultivators under its command. If you want to transfer the Sword Alliance at one time, you must bring a lot of cultivators with you. If so many cultivators go directly to the Heaven Curve world through the space passage, the price will be too high. Even you, Mr. Jianyi, don't want to bear such a huge price, Insuer said. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. It was true that the cost of teleporting from one realm to another was very high. Jian Wushuang did not care about the cost of tens or hundreds of cultivators. However, there were at least 10,000 cultivators in such a large Sword Alliance. If there were families, there would be even more. Even Jian Wushuang would not be able to afford the cost of teleportation. If I can't use the space passage to transfer, I'll have to rely on my own strength to get from the Pil Sun sacred world to the Heaven Curve world. However, there are 2 realms between the Pil Sun sacred world and the Heaven Curve world. These 2 realms are the Heaven Void world and the Dragon God world. If the Sword Alliance wants to go to the Heaven Curve world, they have to pass through these 2 realms. In other words, Mr. Jianyi, you have to borrow the passage from these 2 realms. In these 2 realms, the Dragon God realm is still fine. The Dragon God realm Lord, the old Dragon God, used to have a good relationship with my father. The reason why the Divine Void realm hasn't been able to attack our Pil Sun sacred world is that the Dragon God realm is watching us from the side, which is enough to intimidate the Divine Void realm. As long as I send a message to the old Dragon God, or if Mr. Jianyi goes to visit him personally, the old Dragon God will definitely agree to take the path. But the key is the Heavenly Void realm, Insuer said. The Heavenly Void world? Jian Wushuang curled his lips. As long as the old Dragon God agrees to let me pass, I'll go there myself. Insuer raised her eyebrows. She already knew what Jian Wushuang was going to do. Jian Wushuang did not stay in the Pil Sun sacred world any longer. He immediately led the corpse puppet army to the Heavenly Void world. The Heavenly Void world was ruled by the Heavenly Void Palace. The Heavenly Void Palace was located at the core of the Heavenly Void world. It was on a vast and beautiful island. The island was filled with sparrows and sparrows. It was a paradise on earth. To the various forces and countless cultivators in the Heavenly Void world, this island was also a holy land that everyone yearned for. The owner of the island, the Heavenly Void Temple Master, had long been a legend in the Heavenly Void world. At this moment, Jian Wushuang had already arrived at the void above the island. Looking down at the celestial-like Heavenly Void Temple on the island through the layer of restrictions covering the island, a teasing smile appeared on the corner of Jian Wushuang's mouth. That Heavenly Void Palace Master really knows how to enjoy himself. The Heavenly Void Palace he created is really magnificent. After mumbling, Jian Wushuang shouted in a low voice, Heavenly Void Palace Master, get out here! Get out here! A mighty voice that sounded like thunder echoed in the entire Heavenly Void Palace. The peace in the Heavenly Void Palace was immediately broken. In an instant, countless figures rushed out of the island. At the same time, there were also many shocked and furious voices. Who dares to be presumptuous in front of our Heavenly Void Palace? Who dares to be disrespectful to the Lord Palace Master? How dare you ask the Lord Palace Master to get out? How dare you? Those who rushed out were all experts from the Heavenly Void Palace. Their bodies were filled with a fit of shocking anger. When they appeared in the void and saw Jian Wushuang standing outside the island, the aura he emitted was only that of a divine master. The anger of these experts grew even more. A mere divine master dares to shout in front of the Heavenly Void Palace. He's really courting death. Kill him. Immediately, experts of the Heavenly Void Palace attacked, wanting to kill Jian Wushuang on the spot. Chapter 2895. Bow your head, stop. A roar suddenly echoed in the sky. The roar contained a terrifying pressure. The experts of the Heavenly Void Palace, who were about to kill Jian Wushuang, immediately stopped under the pressure. Countless eyes looked at the end of the island. There a figure slowly rose. It was the Heavenly Void Palace Master. Palace Master. Palace Master has appeared. The experts of the Heavenly Void Palace immediately showed a fanatical look. To them, the Heavenly Void Palace Master was a godlike existence, the ruler of the Heavenly Void world, and they blindly worshipped him. Jian Wushuang also saw the Heavenly Void Palace Master at this moment. But then he smiled disdainfully. Heavenly Void Temple Master. Aren't you a little too timid? I hid underground, and only condensed a consciousness avatar to see me. Are you afraid that I will directly kill you when I see you? Jian Wushuang did not conceal the mockery in his words. Upon hearing this, most experts of Heavenly Void Temple were immediately furious. However, some of the more powerful experts who had connections in the Golden Crow 9 realms were staring at Jian Wushuang. This man is only a divine master, but he is so fearless when facing the Palace Master. He even looks down on us. Is he? Jianni? Jianni, yes, it must be him. Only he dares to face the Palace Master so fearlessly. Jianni actually came directly to the gate of the Heavenly Void Palace. Those who knew Jian Wushuang's identity and strength were shocked. They knew that when Sword 1 fought against the 3 immortal saints alone, one of them was their Palace Master. Only their Palace Master survived at that time. But now, Jianni came to the Heavenly Void Palace. It was no wonder that the Palace Master did not dare to meet him in person. He had only condensed a consciousness avatar. The consciousness avatar of the Heavenly Void Palace Master also stared at Jian Wushuang with a cold face. Jianni, how dare you come to the Heavenly Void world? Don't forget the agreement that Lord Bone Emperor made with the other forces. That agreement? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. Then he smiled and said, I've heard of that agreement. Isn't it that a realm master, or an immortal saint, is not allowed to set foot in other sacred worlds? But don't forget that I'm not a realm master, and am not an immortal saint. In that case, how can I not come to the Heavenly Void world? Heavenly Void Temple Master was stunned. He then remembered that although Jian Wushuang had the battle strength to kill an immortal saint, his realm was only that of a divine master. Yes, he was only a divine master, and he was not a master of a world. That agreement could not restrict him, so he did not have to keep it. Jianni, there is no great enmity between us. Although I killed you with Realm Lord Tian Chu and Elder Su, I did not kill you. On the contrary, I improved your strength, Heavenly Void Temple Master said. Oh, you mean I shouldn't blame you, but thank you? Jian Wushuang sneered. No, I'm just saying that we don't have a deep hatred, so there's no need to fight to the death. But if you're still angry, I'll pay a price to apologize to you, Heavenly Void Temple Master said. Jian Wushuang could tell that the Temple Master had already decided to bow his head from his words. He was not the only one who had heard it. The experts of the Heavenly Void Palace had also heard it. Most of the people who did not know what was going on were stunned. They could not believe that their Palace Master would bow his head to a mere divine master like Jian Wushuang. Only those who knew what had happened nodded secretly. They knew that what the Temple Master had done was a wise move. You're right. The hatred between us was not too great, so I don't have to kill you. Since you're willing to make amends, as long as you're sincere enough, I can accept it. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. How about this? I don't want too much. 400,000 sacred elixirs, and we can end the grudge between us. The sacred elixirs that Jian Wushuang asked for were reasonable. An ordinary immortal saint had 500,000 to 600,000 sacred elixirs. As a master of a world, the Heavenly Void Temple Master had accumulated wealth for so many years, so his wealth was naturally higher. It was estimated that he could afford more than 1,000,000 sacred elixirs. Jian Wushuang only wanted 400,000 sacred elixirs, which was already considered very merciful. As expected, after hearing Jian Wushuang's request, the Heavenly Void Temple Master, although a little distressed, agreed to it directly. I can give you 400,000 sacred elixirs. The Master of Heaven Void Temple's consciousness avatar nodded, and a stream of light immediately shot toward Jian Wushuang from the deepest part of Heaven Void Temple. Jian Wushuang reached out and took the interspatial ring from the stream of light. He checked it carefully and found that there were indeed no less than 400,000 sacred elixirs in the interspatial ring. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang smiled in his heart. Previously, he had killed Realm Lord Tianchu and Elder Su, and obtained their interspatial rings, which contained many sacred elixirs and various treasures. Now, he had obtained 400,000 sacred elixirs from the Heavenly Void Temple Master. Jian Wushuang already had no less than 2,000,000 sacred elixirs. Of course, 2,000,000 sacred elixirs were far from enough for him to break through from an advanced Great Divine Master to a peak Great Divine Master, but it was still a considerable amount of wealth. Temple Master, I have another small matter that I need your cooperation with, Jian Wushuang said. What is it? Temple Master asked patiently. Well, I have established a force called the Sword Alliance in the Pil Sun Sacred World. It won't be long before I transfer the Sword Alliance to the Heaven Curve World. Many cultivators of the Sword Alliance will need to pass through your Heavenly Void World. I hope you can cooperate with me. If possible, you'd better arrange for your Heavenly Void Army to escort you personally in case anything goes wrong, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Not only do we have to cooperate, but we also have to escort them? Although the Heavenly Void Temple Master was a little angry, he did not dare lose his temper. Sure, thank you very much. Goodbye. Jian Wushuang smiled and turned to leave. Seeing Jian Wushuang leave, the Heavenly Void Temple Master let out a heavy sigh. Then his consciousness avatar slowly disappeared into the void. The cultivators of the Heavenly Void Temple were still in a daze. They had not recovered from their shock. As for Jian Wushuang, after he had agreed with the Master of the Heaven Void Temple, he immediately left and went to the Dragon God realm to meet the old Dragon God. Chapter 2896. Jianyi arrived as Yin Suer had said. The old Dragon God was very friendly to Jian Wushuang. When he knew that Jian Wushuang was here to borrow the path, he agreed without hesitation. Since then, the matter of borrowing the path had been completed, and the next step was to flatten the Heaven Curve World. Jian Wushuang soon arrived in the Heaven Curve World. The Heaven Curve World was originally the supreme realm of the World Master, and all the forces had submitted to him. His Heaven Curve Palace was also the indisputable habitat of the Heaven Curve World. However, since the news spread that the World Master was killed by Jian Wushuang, the Heaven Curve World immediately faced the same situation as the Pil Sun Sacred World. A lot of disputes began to appear. The Heaven Curve Palace could no longer keep its word like before. There were even factions fighting among themselves. In short, the Heaven Curve World was now very chaotic. In a grand hall in the Heaven Curve Palace, dozens of figures gathered together. They were all powerful great divine masters. The leader of them was a brown-haired man. This brown-haired man was none other than the second unrivaled divine master in the Heaven Curve World apart from the Black Blood Emperor, Divine Master Bloodlamp. Chaos, chaos, the entire Heaven Curve World is in chaos now. Our Heaven Curve World's territory is extremely vast, and there are many experts. These experts have formed many major powers, and their foundations are all extraordinary. Previously, when the Realm Lord was here, none of these powers dared to disobey his orders. But now that the Realm Lord has died, these major powers immediately began to have their own intentions. Not to mention these big forces, Even the people from the Deacon's Hall, the Heaven Pavilion, and the Heaven Curve Army in our Heaven Curve Palace are doing something. Even Lord Bloodlamp's orders are ignored. Many great divine masters were discussing, but none of them looked good. All right, shut up. Bloodlamp Divine Master finally spoke. As soon as he spoke, everyone in the hall immediately quieted down. Bloodlamp Divine Master fell silent for a moment before he finally spoke. It has been so many years since the establishment of the Heavenly Curve World. The Realm Lord has always revered the Heavenly Curve World. Now that the Realm Lord has suddenly fallen, it is inevitable that there would be some commotion. Now we have no way to complain about this. Instead, we should think of ways to deal with the current situation. And there's only one way to calm the chaos in the Heavenly Curve World. That is to use a powerful method to intimidate the various powers and calm them down. Just like how the Realm Lord did before. But such a person, Bloodlamp could not help but frown. What he said was indeed the best method. But there was not anyone in the Heavenly Curve World who could make the experts of the various powers in the Heavenly Curve World not dare to act rashly. He was the strongest person in the Heavenly Curve World in terms of personal strength. However, he was only an invincible divine master in the first stage. In terms of combat strength, he was weaker than the Marquis of 3 who had fought with Jian Wushuang before. Although he was stronger than the peak divine masters, the experts in the Heavenly Curve World were as numerous as the clouds. There were several powerful peak divine masters. Any 2 or 3 of them working together would be enough to fight against him. With his strength alone, he's no threat to the world. Damn it, it's fine if the Realm Lord died, but even the Black Blood Emperor is dead. Otherwise, with the Black Blood Emperor's strength, if he joined forces with me, it would be enough to make the various powers in the Heavenly Curve World not dare to act rashly. The Bloodlamp Divine Master cursed in his heart. The Black Blood Emperor is the second stage of the Invincible Divine Master. The combat strength is much stronger than him. The 2 unrivaled reverent gods working together were enough to sweep through all the forces of the Heavenly Curve World. But the crux of the matter was that the Black Blood Emperor had also fallen. And just as Bloodlamp Reverent God and the others were frowning, whoosh, a figure appeared in the hall without any warning. Everyone, is there anything I can help you with? A faint smile with a hint of mockery reverberated in the hall. All the experts in the hall immediately turned to look at the newcomer. Everyone was shocked when they saw him. You are Jian. Divine Master Bloodlamp stared at Jian Wushuang. Jian. The moment the name was uttered, the entire hall burst into an uproar. The great divine masters in the hall immediately distanced themselves from Jian Wushuang and stared at him with fear and vigilance. A few of them even took out their magic weapons on the spot. What's wrong? Do you want to fight me? Jian Wushuang crossed his arms and glanced at the great divine masters who took out their magic weapons. The great divine masters were shocked, and their hearts could not help trembling. Put them away, Divine Master Bloodlamp shouted. The great divine masters immediately put their magic weapons back into their interspatial rings. Divine Master Bloodlamp looked at Jian Wushuang and took a deep breath. After a long while he said, May I know why Sir Jian has come to our Heavenly Curve Palace? Although they were both divine masters, Divine Master Bloodlamp was still a genuine invincible divine master. However, when he faced Jian Wushuang, he had to respectfully address him as Sir. That was the difference between them. I came here for 2 reasons. Jian Wushuang extended 2 fingers. First, from today onward, the Heavenly Curve World will respect me. Experts from all forces in the Heavenly Curve World must submit to me. Those who refuse to submit will be killed without mercy. Everyone in the hall was stunned, but no one dared to object. They did not have the courage to fight against Jian Wushuang, who could directly kill Realm Master Tian Chu. As for avenging Realm Master Tian Chu, they did not have the slightest intention to do so. After all, they were only the subordinates of Realm Master Tian Chu, and because Realm Master Tian Chu was too aloof, they did not have a deep relationship with him. In addition, now that the Heavenly Curve World was in chaos, someone needed to calm it down. Divine Master Bloodlamp was not qualified, but Jian Wushuang definitely had the ability to do so. Secondly, I once created a force called the Sword Alliance in the Pil Sun Sacred World. It won't be long before the Sword Alliance is transferred to the Heavenly Curve World. By then, the Sword Alliance will be supreme in the Heavenly Curve World, and Heavenly Curve Palace will cease to exist. As for you, if you are willing, you can join the Sword Alliance. I can guarantee that you will have a place in the Sword Alliance in the future. If you are not willing, you can leave. But I don't want any of you to mention Heavenly Curve Palace in the future, Jian Wushuang said coldly. Hearing this, the great divine masters in the hall looked at each other with mixed feelings. But at the same time, no one dared to go against Jian Wushuang's words. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.